Shirt show. All right, let's go.
Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Shirt man!
All right! Episode 249 of Shirt Show! We're talking with Frank and Dave from Stahls in Michigan! Let's go!
Hey guys, good morning, good afternoon, good night, whatever time it is that you're listening or watching this podcast. My name is Dylan. I am the owner of Upstate Merch and the host of the Shirt Show podcast. My guest host today was Mr. Vegas himself, Tyler Caroll of TC Screen Printing. We got the opportunity to talk with Frank and David of Stahls. Stahls is a kind of a newer partner to the show. They're great people. I've always wanted to partner up with them just because they are huge with education and just making sure we're all in the know with heat press and transfers and that whole world of, our industry. So I really wanted to have them on. I knew it would be long and we would get into a ton of stuff. And you know what? We probably have to do a part 2 at some point because there was so much stuff we didn't get into, but I didn't want this to be like a 5-hour episode. This episode goes into a bunch of topics, including the rich 90-year history of Stahls, trying to stop using the word transfers with our customers because of the negative thoughts that are behind like old school transfers you might get from like Michael's and you would iron them out at home. We also dove into DTF and how it is not a replacement for screen printing. It is just another tool in our tool belt to help service our customers. I was talking to David and he was kind of alluding to what his ultimate secret for a post press on DTF is. And I pulled it out of him. So you'll find that out later in the episode as well. We also talk about Fulfill Engine, which is a new tool that Stahls offers that can really help out and alleviate a lot of the headaches with running an online store and a lot more. This was a really fun episode. Again, I think we're going to have to do a part 2. I really appreciate these guys and all that they know. And Tyler was amazing. I really wanted to have him on this episode because I knew he was a big fan of what they offer and he's a good customer there. So I was really excited to see his insights. As always, thank you so much to all of you who listen to the show, watch this show, support this show. It means so much to me. I would love to hear from you in DMs or text message or however you want to get a hold of me. Let me know what you want to see on future episodes. Let me know what you liked or didn't like about this episode. If you can take a picture or a screenshot or something, you're at your shop and you're listening to this, show it to me or post it on socials. I want to see it. I want to engage as much as possible with you guys. I'm here. I'm just a resource and someone who wants to sit down and talk shop. So this show wouldn't be possible without our partners. So I want to dive in and talk about them. It all starts with a screen, and whether it's new stretches or restretches, Frank and his team do it the best. They also offer custom racking and a wide range of other print supplies. To find out more, go to graphicscreenfashion.com, ffffrank.com, or greatfuckingscreens.com. Cleaning screens is no fun, but EasyWay makes it way more funner. Their line of eco-friendly chemicals will make reclaiming screens a whole lot easier. Check them out at easyway.com. EasyWay. It's the easiest way, baby. Graphics is your source for production-ready digital art and remote art staffing. They can help with any size shop from just starting out to enterprise level. Looking to add a hero to your art department? Check them out at graphxsource.com. SNS has been our go-to apparel source since day one. Discover an extensive range of apparel that blends innovative design with unbeatable comfort. Their customer service and quality control are the best out there. Check them out at ssactivewear.com. If you haven't tried the American Apparel 1301 garment dyed shirt yet, you are missing out. This heavyweight cotton shirt that has the rough and tumble vibe of your favorite concert tee with a wide rib collar and that vintage faded look. This shirt will definitely be one of your new favorite tees. Ask your rep today to add some to your showroom. For over 90 years, Stahls has been the leading choice among apparel decorators for their heat transfer materials, heat press equipment, and custom transfer services. Not only do they offer some of the best products, but they are always looking to innovate and educate in our industry on all things heat press. Head over to stahls.com to order your transfers today. They are on our show today. I am super pumped. I hope you guys enjoy it.
What's up, baby boo?
Well, aren't you a sight for sore eyes?
Just never enough with us, is it?
It's not. Look at you in that space. It's beautiful.
Yeah, man. Fancy. I don't have all the, stuff you got going on, but
it's more the chairs. Look at those things.
Oh yeah, I mean comfy. Look at that.
I know.
That's the come tell me your problems chair. That's the we've got problems chairs. So there you go.
So you generally have two people that have problems at a time?
Oh, never fails. Never fails.
Sorry, is it too on the nose?
It is what it is at this point. You and I talk pretty regular, so.
I love the Nika shirt. That's pretty sweet, man. Too.
Super cool. This is like an old like NASA ripoff or
how many Nika designs have you guys created? Is it like mostly up to you guys at this point for all these events? Oh yeah.
I mean, so we're doing the merchandising for like 18 states now, and every season we're creating, 5 to 6 custom designs, plus like we have a library of designs that we'll take and like change colors and wording and stuff on. So, I mean, we're in the 500 plus custom Nika designs at this point.
That's crazy. So, I always thought that stuff was really hard because like we do, especially in New York, we do a shitload of live printing at like swim meets.
Yeah.
Like the big like championships and all this other stuff. And it's like, after a couple of years, we were like, I don't know how to make another swim design. Like it's always the same. It's like someone swimming, or it's like water, or it's like just text. Like, how do you go about that? Like that seems like a pain in the ass.
I mean, for us, like we really, we do like lead in phone calls with the league directors every season. So like we're getting ready to do that. The first week of April is like when league director calls start, and they can have other people, other volunteers, other people involved in their organizations. And so we'll do like little brainstorming sessions. And sometimes they'll do themes like North Carolina Nika this season. Their theme is all like old school video games. Well, we just had a blast. We did like a Donkey Kong riff. We did a Sonic the Hedgehog riff.
That's sweet Pac-Man. Though, because then you have some direction. I'm just saying like going into these blind of like, well, I guess I need to figure out some swim bullshit. And that's kind of like, it's hard.
Yeah. It's and for us, everybody on my team is cyclists, like the people that deal with the Nika stuff. So they're all super into it. So they're always, and we have a never ending parade of people coming up to merch booths going, I got an idea for a t-shirt. We write those down. Like I run out of creativity, man.
Yeah. I mean, that's a badass shirt you have on. So I mean,
thanks, man. Yeah. I love it.
You're doing something right. Well, for the people who don't know, you've been on the show a few times, but you are Tyler Caroll, TC Screen Printing out of Arkansas. The last couple of guests I've had on, I've kind of gone back and said like, hey, you were on at this time. I didn't look to see what episode you were, but I know it was a long ass time ago. But
you've been
episode
on episode 12.
Yeah, you've been on a few times. Yeah. But what you've gone through some pretty massive changes over the last little bit. Do you want to kind of say what happened?
Yeah, man. Yeah. So like, we made the move. We bought land to build a building, and then buildings got really expensive in like 21, 22. So then in 2022, we ended up going back to an old building we had looked at. It's like 60,000 square feet. It was pretty cheap, but it needed work. It was basically abandoned and had been for about 5 years with like a caretaker living on site, but they couldn't keep up with that much square footage. So lots of critters in the building. So many so that I think once we moved in, like day 3 or 4, there was like a 7-foot black snake in the embroidery department. It was just like all you heard screams, like someone had gotten their arm chopped off. And then you go down there, there's just giant snake just on the floor chilling out. So that was interesting. But no, for us, the big move to the new facility, super, super great move. It's nice to have so much space. Like we have more than enough space, but then we hit that big slowdown last year that a lot of people hit, and it got hard, man. Straight up, we did layoffs at one point just to keep the core alive. I'll be very open about that. Probably one of the harder days in company history was layoff day. But we've rebuilt pretty well since then, because shortly after that, things picked back up. Things got a lot healthier. We kind of reworked cash flow a little bit, and we're in a really good spot right now. So, usual January, February slowdown, but we're feeling good for the year.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I'm really jealous about with your place is you always talk about like, oh yeah, we have so much room we don't know what to do with. And I'm like, dude, like that has been my fucking struggle since the very beginning, is like how little space. Like, I mean, I have a big building, but it's so narrow. Like my whole building is like 40 feet wide. So it's like,
which you run out of options, right?
Right. Yeah. And it's like, you can only configure things so many ways before you're like, oh, this doesn't make sense. Like my dryer goes the distance the 40 feet way. And it's like, I have enough room on one end for them to walk around, and I have enough room on the other end for a folding table on the end, and then for a pallet to go through.
When you like snub nosed your dryer too, didn't you? You took
it's
4
like,
feet off
it's
the end.
basically like I have no outfeed. It just goes from dryer to that slant
hot
down
hands.
with the thing to burning your fingerprints off. So all the people that work here at the end of the dryer, basically they can get away with murder because they have no fingerprints.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Maybe, hopefully not, right? No, but like we feel like, I know you and I joke about the amount of space. We feel super fortunate because like we can stage, 3 days worth of jobs on the floor. Plus we have like staging area in the middle warehouse, which we've actually moved into now. So like we're occupying almost 30,000 feet of this building now. I don't really want to grow beyond that. Like I feel like we can just stay efficient. And so then we're renting out the back space to storage, which is great.
Well, it's like, the other day you were sending me a picture of you building more storage spaces. And it's just like, even right now with the way the world is and people slowing down and stuff, it's cool to be like, oh, I have X amount of renters. I have income coming in every month where I can cover X, Y, and Z. So
the renters will cover like the building payment and like taxes and insurance. That's where we want to get to. So
I wonder, is that something that you thought of beforehand when you bought this place? Of like,
oh yeah, like we knew we did not need. I mean, the main building's 60,000 square feet, and we knew we did not need that much space. I mean, I have friends with companies much larger, and they have not nearly that space. So I was like, well, we can make it cash flow a little bit if we rent out some space. So we kind of surveyed, we have like, it's like HVAC guys and plumbers, and because they can actually drive up into the warehouse, it's ramped up so they can drive in, go right up to their bay, do equipment lay down, tool storage, all that stuff. The nice
thing with those kinds of people is it's like, they're not necessarily working out of there. They're just pulling in with a truck, grabbing supplies and leaving.
Yep. And they're actually, it's part of our thing is they're actually not allowed to, because it's all loft style. So it's open across the top. So we can't have someone, running a cabinet shop back there. Now I do have a buddy who works on vintage 944s and 911s, and he's got his garage shop, but he's an exception back there, but he doesn't make much of a mess. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. All these rally Porsches.
I was going to say, you just wanted it there so you can make an exception.
So I can look at cars.
Yeah. Seriously.
I'm not even that into cars, but these are pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, also you kind of doubled down on the whole, I mean, we touched on the Nika thing with the designs, but you've doubled down on that kind of situation. Like what's that been like? Because I feel like that's a business in itself. Like, people could just do that.
Like the Nika side of our business.
Yeah. Like traveling around and selling and all that stuff.
Yeah, so we've built out, we have 4 travel rigs, soon to be 5, 2 trailers, soon to be 3. And we really gone heavy on number one, we're just passionate about it. I think it's the greatest youth sports development organization in the United States.
You're a bike guy anyway.
I'm a bike guy anyways, but it's just super positive. Both my kids are going to be riding with Nika this next year in Arkansas. So it was one of those things like, well, I'm going to be doing it anyways. And I really like what they're about. And like, if you have a chance to support something that you care about, go for it. And it's turned into good business for us too.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like, it seems to be very good business. So is that taking you away from shop duties and like, it's more of a focus for you, or do you want to implant somebody in that department where you can kind of not have to be driving around in a van?
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm driving around in a van out of necessity, right? So we have a team of 4 of us now. Like we've built it from just me to 4 of us, with the goal to add another person and then slowly kind of trickle me out of the daily operations and the travel to where I deal with it on like a national level, and then like in the strategy side of it all, like that's what I'll be heavy in. Yeah. But then I get to move on to the next thing and build the next piece of business for us is what we're working on. Because if you know anything about our business, I think you can see her. Oh, she's not there. But Allison, we have a shared wall in our offices. Allison, my wife, she runs the daily operations of this place.
Allison runs the place. Every time we talk, you're like, well, Allison's doing this. Allison's she's throwing great. Down the gauntlet on this. And it's like, what do you do, man? Like,
you won't get her on the podcast. Like you will not get her on here.
She's too busy being a fucking badass.
She just doesn't. She doesn't enjoy this kind of stuff. She likes you, but she doesn't like. She doesn't like this kind of thing. Yeah. So I mean, my job is long-term development of TC, kind of larger pillar acquisitions. So like taking something like Nika and going, okay, how far can we tease this out? How big can we build this?
Yeah.
That's a big piece of what I do. And it just has to be something that I really care about. So that makes it more fun for me. If it was some other division of business, I might not be as interested.
It's a discussion we've had a million times of like, do what you're passionate about, because you can have the lingo, you know what to talk about. Like you don't want to show up to something like that and have no idea what the hell is going on, or better yet, making designs for something that you have no idea what it is. And it's like, oh, why did you make that? Or that doesn't make any sense. Like we see that all the time of people trying to step into something they don't know about. And then it's like, ooh, like that's actually something we don't talk about, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, if I didn't know anything about cycling, it would be really hard. So like we have to educate our art department, which, now our art department is largely GraphX. And so, we have to spend some time working with our artists to say, hey, here's the type of bikes we're using. Here's what the trails look like. Because, if you don't specify, you'll get, a banana seat bike from the 1960s, and that's not what they're riding on the trails.
I'm like, this doesn't make any sense.
But you just missed, he just left. Ryan Moore was here this morning. We had a nice time.
Yeah, how did that go? Because you told me he was just stopping in. Yeah. Was he just in the area, or?
He was in the area. He's going to visit, Ryan used to have a warehouse not far from here in Arkansas.
Yeah.
When they had their kind of Midwest operations. And he was just stopping through because he's going to visit that guy, and we caught up a little bit. He's such a good guy. It's like so much knowledge, so much experience. Like we just sat and swapped stories at a coffee shop for a while because we had both been in touring bands, as a lot of us had at some point. And I really enjoyed my time with him. He's a great guy.
Well, we were talking about it the other day a little bit. And it's just like, I have so much respect for Ryan in the sense of, he started a lot of this online community stuff. He started the online, I can't say he started the online education, because there was always this like who was first kind of thing, like Cat Spit or him or whatever. But Ryan definitely hit it hard. Like,
he got creative. He got, some of the ideas were goofy and maybe they didn't hit with everyone, but he connected with enough people to build a pretty great company.
He opened the door and made it a thing. And now it's like, again, like there probably wouldn't be as much of the things that we do if that stuff didn't exist.
Yep.
So again, like Ryan's always been fantastic. I love the guy. We've chatted a bunch of times, and he always sends people to the shirt show away and introduces people, and he's just a great dude. So I'm glad he got to stop by and hang out.
Yeah, it was really nice. We've been talking about it for years, and he was like, "I'm going to be there." So it's great.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get down to visit the All-Made facilities in Honduras. I'd really like to go down there with them sometime because we love their shirts. I mean, I'm wearing an All-Made. I love the product, so I'd love to get down there.
Let's just make a Honduras trip, and we'll do All-Made, and then we'll do Gildan, and then we'll do Graphic Store.
GraphX, yeah. And then I want to go over to El Salvador because they just opened their El Salvador branch. So like our GraphX people are actually the first ones out of El Salvador. So I've got to go meet Patricia.
Do you want to touch on a little bit? Me and you have both talked a little bit about how as owners we are diving back into outbound.
Yeah. I mean, you and I feel like this is probably like you and I's like biggest conversation lately is like figuring out what it looks like to bring in new business. Cause for a long time, it kind of, for a lot of us, it's just walked in the door for a long time or popped up on email or whatever. But no, I've rededicated myself this year to outbound just a little bit every day, like contact a business, either one that we're interested in or is in a similar market to something we work on, and develop some, great outbound emails, try to make it as personal as possible.
Yeah.
And I've started getting emails back, and then it's leading to phone calls, and then I take it and I pass it off. So like by email number 2, I loop in a project manager here, loop them in, and then just hand it off.
That's pretty much the exact same thing I've been doing is like, I get it to the point where they're like, oh, here's numbers. And I might even quote it quickly.
Yep.
But then as soon as they're like, okay, I'm like, all right, well, this is actually Leanna, or this is Sarah, or this is whoever.
Yep.
But my question is, you mentioned the other day how you're trying to dedicate whatever it is, an hour each day to some outreach.
1 hour a day.
Are you spending in that hour finding the contact information, or is that a separate person?
It's both. I'm finding it and doing the outbound. So it equals about three pieces of outreach a day. It's not crazy. I don't want to do like the scatter spray method where you just like send out 100 emails a day and like you apply to these lists and all this stuff. Like I want it to be, for us, I want it to be really intentional. For us, I want it to be pretty targeted. Like you're probably like me. I get a dozen different emails a day of people wanting to pitch us different services. And man, I skim over that stuff, but there are a few that catch my eye, and it's the ones that they'll lead with, hey, I was just looking and I saw, and I know that's part of their tactic, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, they actually took a little bit of time to learn something about us. Even if it was AI, this email at least has information about us in it that's interesting.
One of them got me like a month ago, and I've seen like 4 since then that have been the exact same thing. And I'm like, fuck, like they got me. Where he opened with, it was a guy, and he opened with, my wife was telling me about your company, and we were sitting here talking about, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And, I work in like SEO stuff, and I was like, oh, I looked at your page and I was like, oh, I could really help out. And it just went into this like personal thing for like a second. Like it was a short email. So it made me genuinely feel like this was actually a conversation that this dude had with his wife. And then I emailed back. I was like, oh, like, what does she do? Or, how does she know me, kind of thing. And then also like, what was your idea? What were you thinking? And then I got the pitch and I was like, you motherfucker. Like,
there it is. Yeah, he got you.
There it is. He got me. And then again, like I said,
buy from him?
No, I saw that email and I was like, you could tell instantly that it was a copy and paste after that point. But like he got me with the initial and I replied. And I mean, it was good. Like it was clever as hell.
Yeah. We have, such a large area here. We live in a small town, semi-rural like you are, but we're so close to so much here in Northwest Arkansas with Bentonville, Fayetteville, Springdale. I mean, there's 600,000 people 20 minutes that way. So the opportunity to just drive around and find businesses that are interesting, like one of the ones I emailed last week, I was like, hey, I drive by your place every morning when I take my kids to school. I'm super interested in your company. Here's what we do. It sounds like you might be able to use merch services. And they already got back to us. Mm-hmm. But I didn't make anything up. I told them all the truth. Absolutely. Yeah. So it's outbound, but like really intentional, like try to be finely tuned. Try to be really specific. That's what we're working on. And it seems to be working so far. We'll see what it turns into. But mostly I just want people to know that they can get great stuff right here. There's just not a ton of great options. But we are a great option. So
yeah, I've been having the discussion because I have 3 people currently doing outbound, and I have 2 VAs and then 1 in-house that I'm dedicating to outbound. And the hardest part has been getting them like good scripts. And I'm like, also too, like make it in your own words and like, try to make these as personal as possible. And again, like you're saying, like pick a market that you kind of know and can have a conversation about. Yep. But like getting them going has been good. Getting lead lists has been good. And I'm working on it too, but I'm like you, where I'm trying to be like more dedicated to specific things, but they're those companies that are like, they don't want you to know who's in charge, or they don't want you to know like anything, like who the marketing department is or anything. And it's such a pain in the ass. Like I get it, but like for me hunting for it, there's a few like huge companies near us that I'm like, we could do that. Like who is doing their stuff? Like if we're not doing it, who is it?
What was it Marcotte a few weeks ago? We were all chatting on a text thread and he was talking about paying for, there's like this higher end version of like Chat GPT, like it's $200 a month or something.
He just brought that up yesterday.
And you can comb through, like he was like, oh no, you can have it like scrape the internet for data. And I'm wondering if that could be used to like find the people you're trying to find, which sounds real creepy.
It's scary. Yeah. We were talking about that earlier today because Marcotte made that, this is going to go off the rails for a second, but like Marcotte made that gang sheet maker. I don't know if I tried it yet. Yeah. Well, anyway, we tried it like 2 days ago and we had a little issue with it. Like it was great. Like, but it had like a flat background. Like it didn't have a transparent background. So I messaged Marcotte and I was like, hey, every time we download this, we're getting a flat background. And he's like, oh, that was a quick bug. Like I fixed it, whatever. And then, he did fix it. Like the background that was on there was gone, but it was a new background this time. Cause it gave us like that Photoshop grid background, but it was flattened. So it was like,
so it was gray boxes. It was
part of the images. Yeah. It was just all these gray boxes. And I was like, hey, we're getting this like Photoshop background. And he's like, oh, okay. Yeah. I fixed it. And then we got like a white background and I was like, oh, well, it's not that, but it's white. And then I got talking to him and he's like, can you just have Brian, like our department guy, like just email me directly and like, let's figure this out real quick. And I was like, yeah. And then Brian came in, he's like, oh, it's fixed now. And And I was like, oh, he must have been doing something. So I emailed Marcotte and I was like, or I texted him and was like, hey, like, no worries, it's all fixed now. You must have been doing something. He was like, no. And then I got into the conversation with Brian. I was like, dude, AI just fixed itself. Like, and he's like, wait, no, seriously, did it do that? And I was like, I don't know. He's got this higher end, like, because we were talking he was on an episode with me yesterday, and we were talking about how he paid for that like higher end service to help him create these tools. And I was like, dude, that's the Skynet shit right there. Like,
yeah,
it realized there was an issue and fixed itself.
It's crazy. I have a buddy who's, high level programming, and he was basically just saying, oh yeah, we're using it to write like the basic level of stuff. And then we go in and make all of our alterations and corrections and stuff. He's like, but it's getting, the first 60 or 70% of it done for us. He's like, so all of that like grind code we used to have to do, we don't have to do anymore. I was like, God, that's got to be nice for you now, man. Like, there's so many ways it's so good, but when it starts correcting itself, you start like going, does it need the programmer? I'm sure it still does.
Well, that's the thing is like, that's what Matt was saying. He's like, I'm not much of a code. Like I know some, but like a basic amount. I think it's just the idea, man. Like he knows what he wants. He just has to describe it well enough to the machine. Yeah, it's all like, make this for me.
It's all about prompts, right? Like it's all about putting in exactly what you need. And that is another way we're using AI is one of the places that got back to me and said, well, let me know what do you have some ideas for some new products for us? You said you'd love to like get creative with us. Like, and I utilized AI to help me build a product pitch, like a product, no visuals, just like concepts, and then tweaked it a little bit, sent it over to them. They're like, we want to do 5 of these things. I was like, that's great. And so then I can hand that off to a project manager. I go, hey, here's the 5 products they want. Here's their logo work. Like, go.
I feel myself every day slipping further and further into the matrix. Like I don't remember which pill it was. Was it the red one or the blue one where you just were happy being in the matrix? I feel like I'm slowly dosing where I'm using it every day now. Like I am using it for outreach emails. I am typing emails or just notes to people and I'm dropping it into ChatGPT and I'm like, make me sound less dumb.
Make this like, I tend to like jump straight to business, like in emails, like get really like factual. And I'm like, I feel personal. Like I'm a pretty nice guy, but make this more personal, make this friendlier. Cause like sometimes when I'm tired, like I just get straight to the point. I tend to be pretty friendly, like talking and stuff, but sometimes my emails come off very direct and I'm like, this needs to be friendlier, make it fluffy.
And again, like in that vein, I found a prompt thing that I actually had to like type out because it was a video and they didn't show you what it was. So I like paused it, typed some stuff out, paused it, typed some stuff out. And it's basically a prompt that I put before everything now, which makes it way more human. It gets rid of all those buzzwords that AI like throws in where it's like therefores and like all this other stuff. So I put that in and then I ask it what I want. And again, like I'm typing this stuff. I'm just asking it to basically like make me sound better, make me sound smarter. So it's insane. So like I feel like every project, everything that's new here now runs through it to some degree.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're utilizing it more and more. People warming it up to it, right? Like I'm like, this isn't going to replace your job, but it's going to be part of your job. Like here anyways, like you have to get good at this. And once people figure out that it helps them to move faster and they can be more nimble and they can iterate more, they jump on board. It's pretty cool.
It's just so many ideas now too with designs. Like we have a customer who's like, oh, I want an eagle flying over this with a whatever. And it's like, okay, cool. Let's at least throw it in. We have the higher paid GPT, but it'll give us at least like 4 ideas. And then we'll take that to the designer of like, hey, this is an actual visual of what this customer is looking for. And then they can design it so much quicker because they have at least the rough idea. It's not like, oh, go on Pinterest and find me like 4 concepts you like. Now it's like, oh, just redo this eagle, but over here we want this kind of tree. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. And they just make it. And it's like so much better.
And I hand, that partway done stuff to the art department. They love it because they take it they get to be the hero, which is cool.
Yeah. They're not here yet, but do you need anything? Do you need to take a minute? Do you need a drink? You need a pee break?
I need a drink from my Shirt Show coffee mug.
we were just
and my Dog Ross coffee mug.
Do you have something in both or are you air drinking that one?
Oh, it's water in both. I just purposely filled up 2 cups so I could be silly.
I got a water bottle. I'm like more prepared today. I have a notebook on my lap. I don't normally have that. I'm trying to change things up a little bit.
Yep.
So, Tyler, today we are talking with Frank Good and David Connor from Stahls.
Hey.
What are you wearing?
Dude, he's got the hat on. I only brought the coffee mug.
And a wig.
Oh, whoa. Okay, very different man.
I had to make you laugh, Dylan.
You did. You succeeded. You should keep the wig, though.
Oh, yeah?
I'm going to let Dave in. He's here. Dang, he has a whole
look
setup.
at that.
Glow.
Gosh, I want to glow. Mine's
got
just
that fucking
natural light.
Darth Vader look going on.
I wanted to look moody. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good. Again, we're both finishing off a Wednesday. So, I mean,
yeah.
I've got to say, though, this week has been one of the best weeks I've had in a long time as far as like the shop going good. God, I need to knock on wood so hard anymore. The shop going good. Like the vibes are good.
Yeah.
The sun shined twice so far this week. Like it's a different world. Like I feel seasonal depression just slowly
just lifting
away.
off of you.
Yeah. Like
Springtime is here, man. I feel you on that.
well, we finally got you guys on the show. It's been for forever. We've been trying to do this for what, like 8 months or something now.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things like you guys, you know, I talked to you guys about like, hey, we would love to partner up with Stahls and do something with Shirt Show in general. And me and Dave kind of had this conversation in Long Beach, but it's kind of like I'm all for people who are for just putting out as much education and stuff on the industry as possible, and not just companies who are like, hey, we make this product, buy it from us, whatever. And again, Stahls has always been that company where I'm like, I know them more for teaching people how to do stuff than I do about the products they have.
Yeah.
So I was like, hell yeah, I would love to do something with you guys. You guys were like, yep, we want to do something with you. And here we are. I would love to dive into the Stahls story, figure out what it is the hell you guys offer, because I know you offer everything under the sun that has to do with basically heat printing. But
Thank you
also
for calling it heat printing.
Yeah.
that's the buzzword now, right? Like that's
Heat
what it is.
applied graphics. Heat applied graphics. That's what we call it.
We've had literal meetings here about how we're trying to come up with new words for this because we have so many customers that instantly hear transfers and they're turned off. They don't know anything about it. They don't know what it feels like. They don't know anything. They hear transfer. They're like, nope. Yeah. They think they're like the letters you used to buy at Michael's.
Yeah, they think it's an iron on
at home. Mm-hmm. And they're like, I don't want that garbage, whatever. And it's like, all right, well, we need a new word. We need whatever. And yeah, we basically started saying heat applied graphics or heat applied products or whatever. And then I was at Long Beach and I heard you guys saying heat printing and I was like, fuck, that's perfect. Yeah. Like, why don't we just call it heat printing? So I'm glad that's a thing. It's cool. I mean, some people like it, some people won't, whatever. It'll grow eventually. But when I got some info on you guys, when we first teamed up, I found out 90 years for Stahls at this point.
Wow.
Do you guys know the origin story, or do you want to make one up real quick?
I'll let Dave.
They tell us.
Dave, go ahead.
Essentially, Stahls started in a garage in 1932 in suburban Detroit, right? Making felt cut lettering for essentially sports teams, which sports and athletics is a huge market we still serve today. Yeah, 90 plus years later, right? And so not just the major leagues. I started servicing and providing heat applied products to the minor leagues as well. And then came around the late 60s, 70s, this thing called heat transfer vinyl became a thing. So essentially the modern version of the polypropylene that you see as heat transfer vinyl today was pioneered and invented by Stahls. And then flash forward a couple years as heat printing kind of really started to grow. you had the issue with application, right? Time, temperature, and pressure are the keys that really differentiate professional printing with a heat press versus the cricket moms, the soccer moms who are printing stuff with an iron, not applying the correct recipe. It's just like baking a cake, right? So Ted Stahl said, we need a better oven. And that's when he found Hottronics and brought Hottronics into the mix. And then in the early 90s was introduced to Weaver screen printing, a screen printer that was dabbling in creating screen printed transfers, and then picked up with a brand that would become Transfer Express. And so that added a lot of the custom transfers, not just materials or equipment. And then flash forward another decade or so, or two now, as we look at kind of the growth of print on demand. Just a couple years ago, acquired Fulfill Engine out of Charleston, South Carolina, to really kind of prepare for the future. So it's always been about empowering apparel decorators with the solutions that they need for any scale to be able to succeed. And that vision.
Don't forget
that
CAD Cut, Dave, in the 90s.
Well, CAD Cut, the heat transfer vinyl, right? So CAD Cut and print and cut vinyl as well. But yeah, pretty much any way that you could use heat applied products to serve those, those things that typically traditional decorators, let's say, screen printers, don't want to touch. We're not burning screens for every single number. We're not burning screens for every single name. So when it just starts as materials and then pre-cut, and we still do felt lettering and twill applique lettering today. So whether it's an embroidery shop, whether it's a screen print shop, or whether it's somebody at home looking to get into the apparel decorating industry, or we see so many brands now even using heat printing on site at events or in retail stores for personalization. It's always been a focus to make sure you're doing it right, and make sure that you're building those solutions for customers that go far down into the road.
Damn, you had that. You've definitely said that before.
Yeah, that's great. What can I buy from you right now?
He didn't go into the weeds at all. It was well put together. He had that top of mind. Like, you've given that speech before.
A few times. Not as eloquently though, maybe.
No, and I learned so much in that 3 minutes. That was great.
I felt like I was standing in one of those like in a museum where you hit the button and then the guy talks to you as you're looking at the felt animals in front of you. Yeah. That you did great. It was a good job.
Funny enough, we do actually still have a museum. So Ted Stahl owns a car museum
really?
In Detroit, Michigan. So if you're ever up there, be sure to stop by the Stahls Auto Museum. The car from the Grinch, the Whoville car, is there. But that's just kind of one of the funny ones that everybody knows. If you're a car guy, there are some like Jay Leno is impressed with Ted's collection, and then there's a pipe organ in there as well that he had flown over from Europe, and it's like the only one in North America that is an immaculate work of art. But that's in there too. So if you're ever in Detroit, make sure to stop by.
So he's a wild man is all I'm gathering, is that he got into this and then got into cars and then got into organs and whatever else.
They have the great race that they do every year. I don't know if you follow
cars,
the great race. They'll take out, I think they have a Trevor Stahl, who's on our enterprise team. He's a 1932, I don't know what type of car, but they'll do 2,000 miles on it. Something.
Oh, that's
wow.
crazy.
Okay.
Do you know why he decided to get into the sports stuff and get into
why did you start cutting felt letters? Do you like baseball? What's the deal?
So I think there was a need for it. I don't know the exact why, and it was actually AC Stahl. So Ted Stahl is the current kind of chairman. Stahls has always been a family company too. So I believe it started in the garage of his grandfather, and then so it's been kind of passed through the generations. And I think it's a testament to the dedication, number one, that they have to helping people. Right? We've always been so super focused on helping anybody succeed. So I think that was the big thing. But essentially there was nobody, doing it at the time for that accurate application and those quality results. And of course it's a different formula today that we cut, and a lot better, whether you're stitching it on or whether you are heat applying it. Yeah. But it was, identifying a market need and then just growing it as the times changed. I mean, when you saw the pandemic, sports shut down. The print shop I was working at the time, was it was events and music merch, right? And those were the first things to go in the pandemic. So it's always just been being able to, be agile in the market, make the right moves, prepare for the future, and kind of foresee those solutions to the problems before, decorators even know they have a problem.
Yeah. Talking about how, there are these Cricut moms, and I don't mean that in a negative way by any means. I just mean like there's so many people who just get a vinyl cutter or buy random vinyl on eBay or whatever it is that they find, or this was a discussion to have later, but like buy like that eBay heat press for like $100 or whatever it is. And then they go out and they press this stuff. And then again, it gets a bad name for everybody when the stuff just falls off. So like the elephant in the room with anybody who deals with transfers or heat applied products or whatever you want to call it, heat printing, is will it hold? What's the wash fastness on it?
Is it
will
done
it peel
right?
off? Is it done right? Whatever.
Yeah.
And I guess like I don't know how to ask this, but like what are they doing wrong? Like what is the tried and true, this is what we're looking for thing? Is it just making sure you have a heat press that has consistent even heat? You said pressure and time, but there's so many different products. There's so many different things. Is there just like a cheat sheet?
I think a good example is, the world we live in today of direct to film. Dylan and TC, maybe you do as well. What's the gamut of direct to film?
Just wide.
Yeah.
But
there's a race to the bottom.
Too wide. Yeah.
The
all
hard
different
part,
qualities. And it's like, some is good, some is bad. And so I think even with DTF, it has a bad connotation, but even some shirts behind me that you see that were done on the Stampinator, one's screen print, one's DTF, the artwork was done right. And it can simulate screen printing very well if the artwork's done right. But when I just put a big blob of ink, it's going to feel like vinyl. So that's, the art side of it, but then the materials itself too. So I don't know if that kind of portrays what we're seeing in the industry or what
I think like you're saying, Frank, is like we had the issue today where we have, a couple places we'll get different things from. And there was an issue today where we were pressing something and we found that it wasn't hot peeling. And then it's like, all right, well, let's try warm peel. And then you peel and it's like, oh, it's still coming up. And then you're like cold peel. And then you find out it's like, it's not coming off at all. And it's just married to the sheet and whatever. And then I was like, well, I don't think it's necessarily the transfer because we didn't have issues with the same batch yesterday or this or that. And then come to find out it was something like, moisture in the garment because those shirts were in a box that were in the trailer, which is kind of like, it's not outside, but it's cold and it's not, temperature controlled. And it's like, there's so many variables. And the funny thing is, before I met you, Dave, like the first thing I would do is I would go on and comb your videos and be like, well, what is he doing? Like you have all these videos where it's like the do's and don'ts, or let's try this at this time and temp or this pressure. And then, oh, that didn't work. Let's try it at this time and temperature. Oh, that worked. So it's kind of like, the biggest thing with all of this, I think, is the education. And that's why you guys are probably so big on it, is because you want to make sure that the people that are doing this right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. That's the number one thing that like it makes number one, us look bad. And more importantly, it makes the decorator look bad. That frustration, that time wasted when something isn't turning out right. Not all heat transfers are created equal by any means, right? And when we talk to that application, right, the variables that we have at our disposal are that time, temperature, and pressure. And the analogy that I use most of the time is if you go buy a cake mix off the shelf at the grocery store and you go willy-nilly, right? Oh, I've baked a cake before. I know it goes in the oven at 310 degrees. I know I'm going to use a quarter cup of this. I know I'm going to use 2 eggs. It's not going to turn out how the box intends it to. Sometimes it might, right? It might look like a cake, but is it going to taste like a cake? And that's one of the things that, like, especially in the education that we put out there, there's so much, especially with DTF. Yes, Frank, there is so much misinformation and people just trying to sell you their product. They are not trying to sell you success, right? Where it's like, this guy told me to buy this printer. It's the end all be all. It's as good as the, $45,000 system. I'm gonna spend $2,000 and it just poured ink everywhere. And my customers are upset because this is peeling off. And it's, you need that accurate time, temperature, pressure. It doesn't matter if it's a tripod. So it doesn't matter if your time and temperature are spot on. If the pressure is off, it might apply, but it's not going to wash, right? And that's always my greatest fear, especially as a decorator at heart, is if my product fails for my customer, that sucks. And 9 times out of 10, best case scenario is they call you up and go, hey, I had this issue, and you have the ability to fix it. But 9 times out of 10, they're probably just going to walk, and you're never going to know you screwed up. You're going to continue making that mistake, and then you're going to lose customers. And especially when you're trying to grow a business, it costs way more to keep churning through customers. You want to keep your customers happy and providing them a product that at the end of the day, 50 wash dry cycles, this industry standard later, that it looks the same. That's something that we've always strived for.
Yeah. And I think that's always been my biggest fear when I do vinyl names and numbers or whatever, is like, I don't know much about this jersey that they gave me, or that I had to order, it's not in my regular rotation. I don't know necessarily that I have a hot spot or a cool spot on my heat press unless I'm checking. And again, I press these things, they go out, and then I get calls from a football mom or something that's like, oh, well, my son Timmy's name's peeling off the back. And it's like, ugh, that is literally the pit in your stomach that you're just like, well, if Timmy's is falling off,
they're all falling off.
Are they all falling off? Is it just Timmy? Is it what's going on? And then you go to the game or something and you see this dude running down the field and his name is flapping off the back. And it's like, God, this is the worst. So I think that's where it deters people. But again, if you're buying that product from a company like Stahls instead of a random thing on the internet, you have the tech sheet of oh, hey, press it for this time, do this, post press this or whatever, and it's the world of difference. So
that's what I wanted to chime in about. I feel like with Stahls, I'm never in a situation where I don't have access to the knowledge I need. We had a situation this last week. We were doing these specialty jackets, nylon jackets, and we've pressed on nylon before with pretty good success with DTF, right? Pretty good success, but not always. And we always test one, press one, and literally you could just shove the DTF off of it at the end. We're like, oh no. Well, we read up on it. It's got a waterproof coating on this nylon. So the whole thing. So then we were like, what do we do? And everybody's like, just jump on the website, figure it out. So we found some great videos talking about oh yeah, waterproof coatings. This might not work with nylon. So, we had it was an all white print with some pretty fine detail, but we had a roll of thermogrip right there. And it was basically thermogrip is going to solve this problem for you. It took forever to weed the tiny writing, but we had a solution, and I didn't have to call you guys. I was just able to get the solution I needed because the knowledge was out there, not from a third party, but from you guys. It's great when other people share knowledge, but I know when I'm getting it from you guys, it's going to work. And when Dylan asked me to be on here with you guys, it's good, because I love this company. And not even to just pump you guys up, but thank you for having the information we need out there. Cause I don't have time. We had an issue with foil years ago, and I called the company and I was like, hey, we've been pressing your foil for years. They're like, oh, we changed brands. We private label our stuff. You just got to try some other things. And I was like, we're a production environment. I don't have time to troubleshoot for the next 3 hours. This is due tomorrow. It's 500 pieces of foil. I've already got all the adhesive ready. What are you talking about? And I've never had that issue with Stahls. And I just appreciate you guys so much. I'm glad I get to talk with you guys. Frank, I've talked to you before, but Dave, I'm so happy. I'm so happy to get to be here with you guys. It's great.
That's awesome.
Well, thank you,
Tyler. Yeah. And one thing I do want to mention is that there's such an art when it comes to screen printing and an art when it comes to embroidery. But sometimes people think, it's a heat transfer. You just slap it on there. but they don't do their due diligence. But I will say behind the scenes, we have labs, maybe multiple labs set up that all this stuff is tested. Time, temperature, pressure, what Dave was talking about, the recipe, all the way down to Dave and I are on some Teams chats all the time. And our sales guys, that they're nerds about it. They're constantly going, hey guys, what about this situation? What about that situation? And the reason and the why behind it is because they have a customer they're trying to help. And it's so important to them. They want to get their customer, help that they need immediately, right away. How do I, resolve this if it happens again? And many times, when we're coming out with new product, it's because of those situations. We're fixing a need in the industry, and then we're throwing it on the website and giving you under the details, the application instructions, all the way down to, the flat presses, the old school cap presses, or the new cap press that has bottom and top heat.
And I appreciate how you guys update it regularly, because no matter the job, we tell our team, no matter the job, if it's a Stahls product, check the website first. There might be new recommendations, and every once in a while you'll update it by, even if it's 10 degrees or 2 seconds, it's just always there. I love that what you said, they're selling you a product, they're not selling you success. I appreciate that you guys, I believe you when you say that. That could be a great line, right? That could be a great line to just say, but I believe it because we experience it every day here at TC. I got 100 questions, but we'll get there. But I wanted to jump in with that. So
into that vein of like Frank was saying, of it being an art too, is I see all the time, because DTF is such a huge thing right now where everyone's buy this product, buy this, I have this, whatever. There are so many where you go on and you see someone pressing something in an ad online, and it's okay, there's this black shirt, say it's a teddy bear or something, and they don't cut out the shirt to give it space to breathe. You can see the shiny black on the thing. They press it, peel it, hold it up, and they're like, here you go, guys, this is the finished product. And it's nah, dude, that's not the finished product. You didn't post press it. You didn't do anything with it. You didn't cut the shirt color out of it so that it could move around. That's what I'm saying is stop showing that shit, please, for the love of God, because you're making it worse for the rest of us. And it's the thing here is we're constantly testing every week. We're not oh, we have DTF done, it's figured out. We're literally, there's a table in the office over here that just has a ton of things that we're testing, and then we're reordering those blanks in the same artwork, but we're tweaking things constantly, where we're okay, cool, there's someone that came out with a program where we can drop out the shirt color out of it a little bit better. And then our thing now is well, what kind of trap or stroke are we adding to halftone dots to keep them consistent, or have them fade into the shirt better, or have them have a better feel and a better flow. And then there was a whole thing for a little while where people were halftoning the entire image to give it slight dots to the whole thing so it flowed better and didn't have that sticker feel. There's things that process. We literally ordered, I think, 15 different percentages of halftones through the image to be well, what one is visible by the naked eye at the 3-foot rule, and then which one is just too obnoxious, too big, what one drops the opacity too far where it just kind of looks dull and shitty. And it's these are the things that people need to be doing to find out for this specific product, what works and what doesn't. And we found, for our own personal opinion, is we didn't like the halftone through the whole image look thing. We were nope, I would rather just in the design process find ways to have natural flows through the artwork rather than just put this jersey looking halftone dot through the whole thing. So again, it's the stuff like that irks me a little bit, is it's not only are we testing that, but we're also testing 10 different products for post pressing. And it's okay, cool. We've tested just laying a t-shirt on top afterwards. Is that material? And then it's all right, we've tested heavy linen is our go-to. Yep. So I have rolls of heavy linen, and I'm whatever. And then I saw recently they have a textured.
Did that come in yet?
I bought it. It's not here yet, so I don't know if I got snake oiled.
The fiberglass Teflon sheet, that was really interesting.
Yeah, so it's textured Teflon. So I'm excited to try that one.
Dave, are you going to give them your secret?
Oh yeah, man.
I'm just saying, I heard from somebody recently that they use 60 grit sandpaper. Was that going to be your fucking trick?
That's the skateboard grip tape, man. Skateboard grip tape.
So grip tape's a little different, right?
There is many different kinds of it depending on who you buy it from. The Spitfire is the best. You got to go for the high quality grip tape
The
stuff.
high quality. Can you get it wide enough? It comes in wide enough, doesn't it?
You could get the wider rolls.
Okay.
18 inches I think is the widest you could get.
It's 16 or 18.
I've played with a few different kinds, but that's the thing too, is like it, and that kind of speaks back to the not all DTF is created equal, because like I did a whole video on it, right? Because the whole testing that you're talking about was literally my own personal nerdy curiosity of any way to put ink on a substrate. There's always a better way to do it. And like, Frank kind of talked about the research and development, and like right down in the same building I'm in, there is a lab where, we're developing the next generation of what direct-to-film is, right? It took 2 years to bring our direct-to-film to market because we wanted to be confident in it. We wanted to be confident in the durability of it, and we wanted to make it as easy of an application as possible. We released a hot peel DTF when hot peel DTF wasn't a glimmer in anybody's eye, right? And now it's like the commonplace because cold peeling sucks. You have to remove it from the press, and then you have to do a post press on it. So ours is developed specifically with, the proprietary inks and the proprietary adhesives, and even the printers aren't off the shelf. They are custom built to be the high capacity so we can meet customer demand while meeting the quality of what we demand for ourselves and what can really help a customer out. But then when we talk about like, okay, I went to a shop. I was in a shop in North Carolina and I saw them using grip tape. And I said, why do you guys use this? What are you using this for? And they're like, oh, it adds a nice texture to it. And like, now granted, they weren't using our single step hot peel application. So they needed to do a post press, but they're like, it adds so much here. So I said, I got to try this now. So I tried, heavy linen. I used the cotton duck, right? Yep. Like just artist canvas, unprimed artist canvas. I used the Teflon sheets. I used just craft paper, right? The stuff that you have laying around that is a cover sheet for everything. I used we have the flexible, it's like a silicone textured sheet that almost has, the gray mat. It has like those. that screen print mesh, right? Kind of texture to it. So you could texture those prints. But I didn't stop there because it looks cool. You get a texture in it, right? What happens when you wash it? And that's where I went. And so
did you put a bunch of holes in it, right?
we did the video, right? I did the video and said, does texturing DTF work? What's going to be the best here? But wait, because we know it's screen printing, right? I come from screen printing. That's my background, right? Before I got into heat transfers, I was a screen printer. But the same thing, when you don't follow that correct time, temperature, pressure, which you necessarily don't need pressure, but when we talk about curing a plastisol ink, I got a shirt. I'm not going to talk about any company or anything. I got a shirt in Long Beach that was printed at the Impressions Expo. I washed it once. Frank's seen it. Frank's seen this shirt. Half of the print completely gone. Like not even a ghost. And I've gotten shirts from like my favorite barbecue restaurant, right? And like it cracked before I even washed it. I put it on for the first time and it cracked. So it's not just heat applied products. It's any way that we're putting ink on a substrate that's becoming an issue. But then everybody is, hey, look how great this looks, right? I wash tested them, right? Throw them through the wash. Does it impact the wash testing? And what I found at about 10, 15, 25 washes, a lot of the texture that you put in that shirt is gone. It actually washes out of the direct to film as more of the shirt texture comes through. So like I'm not going to give too many spoiler alerts. Go watch the videos. They're on our Transfer Express YouTube channel.
See, look at the salesman in here. He's fucking pushing the channel.
It is.
I'm not even a salesman, but but see, this is the curiosity that like, yes, it features our direct to film, but it is, how does this save me time? How does this help me be better? And how does this save me frustration? Right. Because we've all made so many mistakes. And if I could share some of those mistakes or share some of that curiosity to somebody to help them out, like that for me at the end of the day is like the customer winning is the best thing any decorator could ever hope for. So like I want to prepare decorators for at the end of the day, because that's what I care about. Right. So there are a few I'm not going to tell you what, because you have to watch the video, but I am going to tell you that there were 2 of those cover sheets that made a tremendous difference.
Long-term difference.
But now does it justify the added labor at the end of the day? Right. I think that's a question for other decorators to answer. Cause yeah, sure. 15 seconds as a post press or 10 seconds as a post press here or there, whatever. But when you're doing high volume, like we see so many shops, I was just in a shop same shop in North Carolina that was doing 3,000 pieces on demand every single day. And it's like, when you're at that scale, an extra 15 seconds on every single item, that's an entire shift now of labor that you're accounting for. So like, I mean, and that goes both ways, even down to, somebody just getting into the industry, super passionate about design or creative or being an entrepreneur, and like doesn't have the extra time, right? They need to be selling, or they need to be doing something else, or shop owners that are a limited staff. We have a small team, but like, man, to be profitable, we have to be focused on what we're doing and be rolling through it. So
I got Dylan, you and Tyler, what is your, I guess, break when you go from volume, choosing, a heat transfer vinyl versus taking it to a press?
It depends on the number of colors in the design, right? I mean, we've done runs of, 500, 1,000 pieces of DTF. I mean, for us, it's not so much about the breaks. It's about using it as a tool, right? So it's a great tool in the team storage division of what we do. So the team stores that we do for mountain bike teams, we talk to them ahead of time, say, hey, we employ a number of different decoration methods here. That might be screen printing. Embroidery might be the best thing. We might be ordering patches in for this. And we determine as much of this as we can ahead of time, but they'll really insist on this one design being in a store. And we're like, this design is not going to sell, but you know what? We have a great solution for this. If you sell 3 of these, no problem. We're going to do it out of, we call it film transfer or water-based film. Well, I forget what we're defining it as on the line sheets. And they get and they go, oh, we love this so much so. And Dylan can speak to this as well, that there's a lot of times where they'll call and go, hey, whatever you did on those one shirts, can you do that on these other ones too? Like, we like the way that felt. We like the way it looked. Now, we've had one complaint ever, and it was a large solid coverage, no way to knock it out, no way to soften it up. The person was like, what is this crap? And I was like, well, it's not crap, but like, you sold 2 on your store. We talked about it ahead of time. None of that mattered. He just wanted it. We ended up screen printing 2 shirts for him. It's fine. But for us, it's really, there's not a breakover necessarily for us. It really is like, what's best for this situation? Sometimes it's film. We just did a huge release for the artist cause. We're doing all of the stuff for like a museum here, art gallery opening. And they're out of New York. We've been sending them samples back and forth. All the sleeve hits on everything, we did all of them film. It was just easier. It was finer. It's an artist that's known for these really fine, small details. We could have screen printed it, but we had to put so much time into the screen printing of the fronts that we had to push it off somewhere else in the shop. So the sleeves are all film. The fronts and backs are all screen print. And the artist freaking loves it. So for us, it's not about a breakover. It really is about what tool is best for the situation. But we have a fleet of heat presses and 3 screens.
I have an answer for that, but I want to go back to, I'm not letting Dave off the hook on this fucking post press. He's trying to pitch me to go to his video, but
I'll go watch it right now.
For the listeners though, back to you kind of said something that was interesting to me and I didn't really think about is, you were saying the wash test of the post press, that after like 20 washes, it kind of fades out and goes back to what it was anyway. But I mean, part of that for me is like, I still would do it because of the fact that I feel like a shirt has a second life to it, where you have that first 20, 30 washes or whatever, where it's a brand new shirt in your eyes still. Like, this is a new shirt in my collection. I love it. I'm going to wear it for this time. And then after probably, you got to think 20 washes is like, that's like, if they wear it once a week, that's 20 weeks, but they probably don't wear it once a week. They probably wear it every other week. So then you're at like 40 weeks at that point. So, okay, you're close enough to a year. And then after the first year, it has another life of like, okay, this is almost like a vintage shirt in my collection.
It's a favorite tee. Yeah.
This is like, like there's shirts like this that I probably wear this shirt once or twice a week. Well, it's starting to get to that point with Plastisol where it's got cracks in it and it's faded and, it's on a comfort color. So now it's not black anymore. It's like a deep gray. And it's like, I don't necessarily, and I'm a printer, I don't necessarily give a shit what the print looks like at this point. I just like that it's a shirt that I can trust fits my body. I like the design. I don't care if it's beat to piss or not because I just like it. Like it's like a comfort blanket at this point. So my thinking with that is it's just it's in that second life of like, okay, the print is what it is. I'm just happy that I have it and I own it and I like what it looks like.
Yeah,
but
it's a top shelf tee for you, or it's a top drawer, right? It's one of those tees that you love to wear. Which
I have a million shirts and I love t-shirts. And people send me stuff all the time. So thank you for that. And you can keep sending them to me because again, like this one was sent to me or given to me, handed to me at a show. But I have, like 100 at a time stacked and I have them literally just stacked. Like I don't even put them in a drawer anymore. And I'll pick through the top 5 or 6, do laundry, fold them, put them back on top. And it's like, I'm sticking with these like, top 10 shirts.
The favorites. Yeah.
And then I'll cycle out stuff and I'll put stuff away so I can go back to old stuff. But back to the post press thing is like, I'm interested in trying the skate tape just because of the grit, but I was concerned of the fact, like Tyler was saying, is like, is it so sharp and pokey and whatever that it's actually puncturing the DTF to a degree of breaking it down, or it's hurting it, or it's too aggressive or whatever. So I want to know, because people on this show are going to be pissed at me if I don't get some kind of answer. You can't say I have the answer and I'll tell you in a month. What is your favorite? What's your go-to? I will put the link in. I promise I will put the link in the description of this thing. I just want to know what is the current go-to.
So when I want a texture on it, I use the skateboard grip tape. I have some examples, and I don't do it for everything, right? The stuff that I know is going out the door to a little league team, or the stuff that's going out the door to, just fulfilling online store orders doesn't really matter. But like the stuff that like, if you want to make it look screen printed, I don't want to say I was arguing with a guy on the internet because that sounds awful, but I was arguing with a guy on the internet the other day who was like, screen printing is, there's no way that you could ever make DTF look like screen printing. Go hit well designed and artwork prepped, right? But you have knockout areas. You're meeting the minimums of the standards so that you could get the adhesive on the back. The white ink is trapped behind the CMYK inks, and go hit it with some skateboard grip tape. And I will tell you, it looks like that thing was screen printed. Even if you touch it, when designed correctly. I have Plastisol shirts, my favorite, right? Here in Cleveland, we have the world famous Agora Theater, right? My band played there many moons ago now at this point, and I bought a t-shirt to be like, I finally made it. My band played the Agora, right? This is awesome. I have never worn that shirt because it feels like I'm wearing a bulletproof vest, right? There's and it's not maybe crunchy, like some DTF is. Again, there are some very, very crunchy DTFs, but somebody said, hey, it's never going to be there, and go hit it with skateboard grip tape on a post press. Look at the print, feel the print, especially on like a heavy cotton or a fleece. Get out. It's phenomenal.
I don't want to get in this battle because I've said it enough on this fucking show. And if this is the first episode you're listening to, I'm sorry, go back and listen to some old ones. But I will tell you all day long that I don't see them as the same thing. And this goes to the discussion before. It's not the same thing. They are not replacing each other. Calm the fuck down. Like, nobody is saying DTF is coming in and stealing your jobs. It's a dumb argument. It's not what's happening. But what I am saying is, and I will say something that again, like is funny to that point of someone being like, oh, that'll never be the same as a screen print. I wore a shirt to ISS this year that I wore all day at M&R. I wore to the Shirt Show Happy Hour, and it is a shirt that I made a one of that it says Balrog on the front. And then has like the Danzig skull, but it looks like the Balrog from Lord of the Rings. That is a white DTF that I heat pressed on a shirt. And I wore it all day, every day. And no one once said a word. It's bright as hell. I've washed that thing like 50 times. I wear it all the time. It has 0 cracks in it. It will stretch. It's still bright. I don't care. The thing is it was intended for me to make a one-off of something I saw on the internet that someone was ripping off. And I was like, you know what? I like this. You know what? Fuck, I'm going to rip it off. I'm going to make one. I made it for myself. I'm stoked on it. It looks great, feels great. And, you know, this one's screen printed. But again, like, they feel kind of similar, and I'm not in that argument of like, oh, well, one has whatever. Like, I don't care. Back to the argument of what Frank was saying is like, at what point do you do this over that or whatever? And for us in our shop at Upstate, most of our clients are picky artist people, because what we're doing a lot of is bands, and we're doing a lot of like comic book shops, and we're doing people who are artists first, and they get their stuff printed on t-shirts. So for us, it's a lot of high color stuff and this and that. Well, DTF has been huge for our shop because there's so many of these people that are artists first that are starting out where they're like, I don't want to go say, give me 500 of these because it's a 14 color print. They're like, give me 12 or 24. I will do a pre-sale. I will try to get this out here. If the design takes off, then I'll order 500 of them. But more often than not, now they're looking for a solution that's not, you know, DTG. So where they're worried about, okay, I got this big square of pre-treat, or the shirt smells like piss and vinegar or whatever. Like, they're happy to have a product that's like, cool, I can do a design that's covered in, you know, it's all gradients. You know, because before we get all these people, it's like every design is just nothing but gradients. And it's like, cool, that entire design is going to be made up of halftones. Like, yeah, we can do a sim process, we can do whatever, but it's all going to be dots.
And costly. Like, that's the kicker.
And it's like, yeah, there's 14 screens, 14 inks I got to mix. There's 14 screens I got to register. I got to do this whole thing. Then I got to tear it down and X, Y, Z. So we were pushing more towards, okay, we have this product. And again, like, we do a shitload of testing. We're not just like, hey, we found this one place, this is what we're going to do, go from there. We do all this testing. We're happy with the product. Again, kind of like you guys were saying with Stahls, you weren't the first person out with it. You came out with it when it was time to come out. And we're happy with it now. Like, we get new tests all the time. We're still trying new things, new techniques, but more and more we're getting customer emails that are saying, not, here's my artwork, how can we do this? They're like, here's my artwork, I would like these DTF, please.
Yep.
And more and more, like Tyler said, it's people that are like, hey, I need 500, 1,000, whatever. Yeah. And they're like, I want these DTF. And it's like, oh shit, we need to find a faster way to do these because I need to do 1,000 of these. And yeah, I don't want to sit there on a pneumatic shuttle press and be like all day long. So what we've been doing, and again,
right?
Yeah, and again, this isn't new.
Maybe
we're not making anything that's new. Like, there's presses out there, and like Rock has one now where it's all like got Stampinators on it and all this other stuff. Yep. But we took our 6.8 Sportsman that was our third extra auto, and we got the pads from Stampinator that we can put over our pallets, and then we have 2 stamps on it. And you know, the first one is just the regular stamp. The second one has the heavy linen magneted to it, so you can, you know, go around. You can pre-press them if you want to with one spin, or you can just, you know, put it on, press it, put the vinyl on. Someone peels it off, it gets hit with the second Stampinator, and it comes off. It's one spin, it's done. There's no dryer, there's no inks mixed, there's no worrying if it's in registration or if this garment is going to suck or we're going to have all these issues or screen tension or anything else. We just do the job and it's done. And it's like, holy shit, this is a tool now where if the customer is cool with the end product and they're getting what they want, they got their art on a t-shirt, just like you said, Dave, like, hey, I played this venue and I didn't care what the shirt necessarily was. I just have a shirt from the venue of the show I played. That's what most of these people want. They just want a product made with their artwork on it and it's done. And if I can provide them something that makes them happy and gets the customer service side done first, then cool. Who gives a shit?
So how many
I want to make sure
that dude, Dylan.
I don't know exactly, because again, it depends on how we're placing it and whatever. And I actually had this conversation with you about getting the projector for the auto so that I can place them all perfectly and whatever, because not every design is like square or an oval or whatever where you can just lay it on a grid. Like, we have things all the time that's like, you know, it's cocked to the side or it's got splatter or it's whatever. And with a projector, I can be like, okay, cool, it's at this angle and this is where it's going to go.
Yep.
So that's our new thing. And I have, like, you know, I have stuff that I'm making my own rig and all this other stuff. But back to that question is kind of like I've said before, is like at some point, math wise, if you're just a numbers, you're just a manufacturing facility, at some point soon, DTF is going to be at a level of quality where it's not the same as screen printing, but it's not far off. So at some point it's going to come down to, do you buy a 16 color auto anymore? You might not. You might just be like, hey, we have 2 autos, but they're 6 color presses, because mathematically it doesn't make sense for me to screen print anything over 4 colors. So it's like, okay, cool. There's always going to be those prints where it's like, I need 1,000 2-color prints or 10,000 2-color prints. Cool. Screen print that shit all day long. Mm-hmm. But then you're going to have those people that are like, hey, I need 1,000 18-color prints. It's like, cool. DTF it on this DTF auto instead. And then it's like, yep, the product comes out. They're like, sweet, this looks great. It's out the door.
Yeah.
That's what I'm interested in.
I don't think screen printing's ever going to end for that sole reason.
It's never going to go away.
It's going to be economical for those larger quantities.
And there's going to be the customers sometimes. There's going to be the customer too, like the vinyl people or whatever, where they're like, I want it screen printed. I want that feel. I want that look. I want whatever. And it's like, cool. Well, this is the price for it. If you want a 16 color screen print, here's the price for it. If you want a 16 color digital product, here's the price for it. Let them choose.
I think one of the things we're seeing right now, we're going to continue to see in the future. Dylan and I have talked about this. Like, if you had to start over tomorrow, like start your shop over, what would you do? Right now, shops like Dylan and I's are going, should we bring DTF in-house? Should we be making our own film? I think that's going to become the question for screen printing. I think screen printing is going to be the thing you add later. I think more people can get into the industry with heat applied graphic products. They could do embroidery and heat applied graphics and be a stellar shop putting out excellent quality. And then I think they're going to go, but we are getting these like requests for 14 color, 10,000 piece shop, whatever it is, like these numbers that where it makes sense. And then I think they're going to go, okay, now do we want to invest? Because I mean, think about the investment for that level of screen printing. I mean, Dylan and I both know it's $250,000, $300,000 to get into direct, like to get into a CTS system, into an auto wash system, into screen reclaiming, like all this. The cost of entry on that has gotten. I mean, Dylan, you and I sat in a room with M&R. The cost has gotten so high.
There's a G3 sitting out there, and that costs more than the home that I bought that my family lives in.
Yeah. Like the cost of entry for screen printing has gotten so high, and I don't think it's anybody's fault, but like Dylan and I sat in a room with some screen print people, and they said, what are you scared of? And the thing I said was, I was like, that your innovation is going to outpace my ability to pay for it. Like,
that's a good way to put it.
I'm so glad you're making all this great stuff, and we want you to. The industry needs people to innovate. They need people to make new products for screen printing to make it better, faster, cooler, whatever it is. But I said, it becomes something you can like strive for, something you could reach up to. But eventually I feel like in some ways, a lot of that's becoming to where you can't reach it. Like there's screen print shops that may never even peak at a digital hybrid system.
So like, I agree with you on that, but I do want to rebut that. Dave had a great video at US Color Works in Charlotte. It's our flagship for our freight, for Fulfill Engine. Yep. And I was talking to Rodney, one of the owners there. And I said, Rodney, what are you investing in? What are you looking at? Are you trying to automate, your reclaim? Yep. What are you doing? He said, I got 12 autos, Frank. If 1 or 2 sit there, I'm good. I'll always need it. I'll always use it when I need it. He said, I'm looking to automate right now my digital, my print on demand department. And I think to your point is, and one of the points he made was, digital, I'm hoping that I can recoup my money in 3 years before the equipment breaks down. He said, that auto that I have, I know it'll last 20 years.
Yeah, but when he bought those autos, they were $40,000. They're $120 now. That's the problem, right? Like,
but it'll last 20 years. The ROI is just a little.
I agree with Frank in a sense of the fact of it's a mechanical machine that's pushing ink through a screen, and there's not as much variables to go wrong. That's why I've always held out on the digital stuff, and that's why I won't buy a DTF machine that makes my own or whatever. Is there's print heads, there's clogging, there's all this stuff. Anybody I've ever talked to that has them is like, I almost need a full-time maintenance man to keep
just to run the machine.
Or the thing is
to
run one machine, you have to own two because one's
You have to
going
own
to be
two.
broken, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And again, we don't need to get into that whole argument other than don't fucking buy a machine unless you need it. You need
yeah.
transfers today or tomorrow or the next day.
And that's what I'm saying is like, what I was saying was I think screen printing is going to be something people add after, not printing film in house, but they're going to build their businesses off of more accessible technologies. Even if they're buying the transfers from someone else, I think fewer people are going to, like, we bought screen printing presses. My first thing was a 6.4 manual. Like, that's where we started. And I think fewer people are going to start there. I think more people will start buying ready-made products.
And the other point to Tyler's thing is that you don't have to just think of the digital side of it too. Like if I had to start over tomorrow and I was like, whatever, I do want to still do some production, but I can farm this out, farm that out, whatever. Or if I don't know anything about this, I could go in a basement tomorrow. I could go on Stahls or whatever, and I could order a hat heat press and a 16 by 22 heat press, shuttle, pneumatic, whatever. And I could take all kinds of orders on the internet from whoever I wanted, and I could DTF certain things, and I could also order vinyl for certain things, and I could order screen printed transfers. And it's like, okay, I'm covered on all the things. I have the sports people done. I have the people that high color count stuff done. And I have the people who want a screen print done because I can order a screen printed transfer. Mm-hmm. I had a fulfillment customer that was a comedian that had his logo. It was this bright green thing. And it just said like his name across the front. And he really loved the Bella like sponge fleece hoodies. They suck to print on.
Nightmare to print.
Mm-hmm. They are the worst thing to print on, but he loved this hoodie. It was his favorite hoodie, whatever. I ordered boxes and boxes and boxes of screen printed transfers from Transfer Express of this bright green logo with white text underneath it from you guys. And they were fucking immaculate. They looked great. They felt great. They were bright. People would never know the difference if this was
customer loved
or not. And if I gave that to somebody and said it was a screen print, whatever, they'd be like, wow, that's a really good screen print. Like it just looks good. We screen printed them once here before. And I'm embarrassed to say, like, we couldn't hit what it looked like as the transfer because it was so like perfectly flat. Like it had a little bit of the hoodie texture, but it looked so good. Mm-hmm. And like it's a tool. It's what you can use. And again, like in this day and age, you could just have a basement and you're ordering stuff as it comes and they come in and you press it and it goes out the door. Like you don't necessarily have to have all this equipment, but again, like it's all in what you want to do. And I love screen printing. I love this business. I love watching stuff on press. I love stuff watching come off of it, but I also love new stuff too. Like I like the new digital stuff. I like the technology. We were just talking about stuff again. I love M&R. I'm on Team Blue. I like all the other guys, but you go to their facility and you see the Polaris and you're like, okay, amazing. Cool. This thing rules. It's perfect for those large companies that are doing fulfillment where they can be like, oop, barcode, beep, beep, beep. They got a whole stack of shirts. They can do, variable data. They're just doing a different shirt after a different shirt after a different shirt. And it's amazing. I went there once and sat down with them and it was like, okay, what do you want to make shirt? We made a video, it's online, of me coming up with an idea, making a shirt in less than 5 minutes. And it was like, I want a Sasquatch fighting a mech warrior on Mars. And they were like, cool, put it in back then it was Midjourney or whatever.
Midjourney, yeah.
Put it in Midjourney, printed it, like put it on a flash drive, plugged it into the Polaris, hit print, made the shirt, came off, it was done in 5 minutes. And it's like, okay, cool, this rules. But it's $800,000.
Yeah, it was.
But the thing is that works really well for the large companies who are just cranking fulfillment all day long. Because again, it's one machine, one operator, someone fills a cart and he just prints shirts all day long. But to Tyler's point, how many shirts are you making to pay off an $800,000 machine before you're like, okay, cool. Like, is this thing still relevant? Is it whatever? And again, like, I'll be honest, and I'm not bashing M&R in any sense. When I bought my G3, I bought that press because I was going to buy a digital squeegee to go on it. Mm-hmm. Literally the next year is when DTF blew up in our industry and everyone was like, DTF everything. I was like, cool, I'm glad I didn't buy this X $100,000 machine to go on this. Now I can just order from Stahls or whatever, and I can heat press these on these pneumatic heat presses that are now blowing up as well. And it's like, go ahead.
I was going to say, you kind of touched on something really important there, right? That like, even though you don't have a digital squeegee on that press, is that press obsolete? No, right?
No.
Yeah.
It's a great press.
But when you go and buy, say, a direct-to-garment printer, you go buy a direct-to-film printer, in 18 months, is the technology going to evolve way past what you're capable of?
You can't
and you're
use
going
that
to
machine
dust.
anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So like these digital machines do have a limited lifespan of just like a computer that you go buy. Right. It's 4 years
that's
now.
always been my argument is it's that thing when you were early 20s or whatever, or buying a Mac or buying a PC or whatever. You're like, man, I finally got the money to go buy this new PC. And then as soon as you buy it, there's a commercial for like, this one has 3 times the power of this one. You're like, God damn it.
Well,
just
and then
bought that thing.
And then remember when the thing used to be when you'd buy a new computer, what would you get for free with it? You get a free bubble jet or inkjet printer.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you would go to buy the new ink for it, and it costs more than the value of the printer. And then a year later, you couldn't give that thing away. Like digital moves so quick, like the tech moves so quick that it's like,
this is a side quest, but
it's just big versions of those, in my opinion.
When I had the button company and I was printing all my own buttons and I was whatever, there were many times where I went to Staples in the middle of the night or whatever and had to buy ink for the printer that I was currently using. And I would look at that price. I would just buy a whole new printer right then and there. Like there's nothing wrong with the one at home. I would literally buy the printer because it comes with a whole thing of ink. And I just go home and I would take that printer and I would throw it in the garbage can and I'd put the new one on. I'd be like, cool, let's run the whole new printer.
Yeah.
Again, we're getting off the rails on this a little bit, but in general, I think the argument is just like, again, I want to just put it out there, and I know it's been said a million times, is it's not, no one's taking anybody's jobs. It's just a different tool. It's a whatever. But also, I don't want to focus this whole episode on DTF because Stahls offers so many other things. Did you guys buy Transfer Express? Is that how that worked, or has that always been a separate thing?
That was in the story at the beginning.
It was originally Weaver screen printing. So it was a screen print shop.
Weaver screen printing, but
yeah. And that's what the origins of Transfer Express. Yeah. Okay. 1991, it became a Stahls facility.
Okay. So again, like that's like a whole nother thing that you guys are offering, but I've known about that and I've known about the DTF stuff, obviously, because that's a big topic thing. What else do you guys offer that's like not necessarily known that Stahls offers?
So dimensional patches and emblems, I think, is a big one. But I feel like, especially if you come to any of the shows, Impressions Expos or Graphics Pro or PPAI or Printing United, right? One of the big features that we showcase are the dimensional emblems and patches. So embroidered patches, the PVC, leatherettes, right?
I have some of them here, and I talked to Frank and I talked to some other people. Like, you guys had made some upstate ones for me as examples, and I kind of wanted to show them off on the show. I was going to do it for a thing, but I got these PVC patches. They rule. They are so good.
Yep.
Like, I want to try. For people that are listening, I'm sorry, but I'm showing these patches. I've never had a PVC patch before. I've had them on products I bought, but I've never had an upstate one before. And I'm like, this is just something that sets apart from the rest. Like everyone always just gets like a woven, patch or, whatever. But to have these, I just feel like the perceived value. I was telling Christina, when I think PVC patches, I think of like a North Face jacket or something. I'm like, I kind of feel like I have to buy an expensive hat to put this on. Like, I don't want to put this on some crappy $5 hat. Like, so again, just perceived value of that in general, I feel like is such an upsell to be like,
Dylan, I do have to do my due diligence that before I came back to Stahls, I was at SNS Activewear, and that's when Stahls launched the 360 cap press that has bottom and top heat. So if anybody out there, you're looking at PVC or leather, anything with dimension, do yourself a favor.
That heat on the bottom.
You have to have bottom heat. Yep.
Yep. I agree with that. Another one is this flex broidery. That's was cool. That was one that stood out to me at ISS this year, and I hadn't seen it before. There was a hat you guys had. I think it was like a navy hat, and it had like I can't remember what the wording was, but it was just across the front and it was in this flex embroidery. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. It's just like has some dimension, but I didn't even think about it as embroidery when I saw it. I was just like, I like the texture that has. So I wouldn't necessarily like, it's like a replacement for embroidery. It just has its own cool look and feel. But then I got looking on your guys' website and I was like, oh, I didn't realize that it was like full color. Like you can make it look like any patch. Because all the ones I've seen before was just that it was like a one color thing. So I just assumed like with this one too, I was like, oh, this is really rad. And I'm stoked to put this on a hat. But like, there's so many customers that we've had that want, you know, these patches, but they only want a certain amount and they don't like our go-to. And I don't know, Tyler, if you're the same way, anybody who comes to us, and this is a whole nother segment you guys talk about too, is like, we've always sold someone 100 patches. Where like you buy 100 patches, if you're buying 12 hats, cool. We have, you know, 88 more patches for the next time you guys come back. And that's the sell is like, okay, cool. Well, you always have patches here. But now you guys even offer 12 patch minimum.
Yep.
Which again, I had on a question on here is like, how the hell do you get away with just making 12 patches?
That's like, for them to figure out.
It's not my problem.
About the
margins.
We also do for like flex embroidery or many of like the flex style products that we offer. You could sample them too, so you do have to pay the setup fee. But you could get like if you want to try to if somebody's like, man, this is going to be a big order. I want to make sure it looks good. You could sample that with a minimal investment up front before you jump all in, right?
And that usually, if a customer is diving into something like that, they're usually up front with buying it. It's not like we have to do it necessarily. We're like, hey, if you want to see what this looks like, this is the cost.
This is what it costs. Yep.
Yeah. And again, I'm not trying to make this a Stahls ad. I'm just saying, like, I generally think these things are sweet. Like, I haven't pressed them yet, and this chenille patch is fucking super sweet.
Yeah, that came out good.
Yeah, these are great. Like,
yeah, we buy
I'm
the
kind of sad I only got one, but like,
well, we've done some of the chenille products from you guys, the larger ones, and you guys send the sew pattern for it too. So we're sewing these beautiful big chenille patches on, but you guys literally provide the stitch out for it as well. Like it's not just you can buy them from other places online. A number of places and you have to make your own stitch file, but you guys literally provide every piece of that. And I love it.
The same with like the applique too. So that's kind of something that's not necessarily known that we do, or it's been known in like commercial services for a while. But essentially it's applique. So it's a twill, sometimes even with that like acrylic on top that we will stitch together. And then it comes ready with adhesive, so you could just heat apply it. So
we've also done like the rip away applique before. That one's super cool. Like I think we did it with like a glitter. Man, that nailed it for one of our customers. They were so happy with it. Such a great product,
and it's easy to use. Yeah.
So it's not even just
days, guys, of having to sew it on. I have so many customers still. They're like, we just want to make sure it doesn't fall off. Adhesives have changed, in our favor.
Really good.
So much that there's stuff that I've heat applied correctly, time, temperature, pressure. And then 24 hours later, I've gone to try to pull it off. And I've taken pliers and I've ripped the hat. I mean, the adhesives are that good that we can stand behind a product and say, look, this is a no-sew item. You can take that embroidered patch and heat apply it to a cap and it's not going to fall off.
Yeah. I've seen more and more because I've been looking into it a lot because I've been looking at buying like a post bed machine, but I'm seeing more and more is that people will offer as their standard patch application is the heat press.
Heat applied.
And again, it's perceived value to a degree. Like again, part of it is that we don't want shit to fall off. Which obviously could happen with a number of variables. But again, you're saying that it's less so likely to happen now with the newer adhesives. I'm just saying I'm seeing more and more of like people offering on their website that, you can get them heat applied at this normal cost and then we can sew them on for this upcharge.
Because the sew is a look that's difficult. It can be mimicked. I've seen lots of great mimics out there, right? But it can be difficult to mimic. So like, we're, on hats, we run 3 post beds. We're largely sewing on, but we'll still buy patches from you guys. Like, I think you make great patches. That's great.
I just think that with certain customers too, it's like that peace of mind where they're like, oh, like this is sewn on. Like there's no way this is falling off at this point. But yeah, it's great to hear that like they, like you're saying, you have to pull them with a pair of pliers is a different story.
I talked to a lot of embroiderers and, with the synthetic fabrics that are out now, it's an option. I think, Tyler, you said a while ago, sometimes it's about capacity and you're like, we want to move it to heat printing because we're full.
Yeah.
Well, that's the same thing
I
as
still want to get it done, right?
I go to embroidery shops and they're 14 days out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how's anybody getting anything? And I'm thinking, look at the flex embroidery. Look at some of these heat applied patches. Take it off your equipment, and get a better turn time.
We talked about this. We talked about this yesterday in the podcast I did with Marcotte, and it was like, what was I going to say? Is it just like you can sew it on or you can heat press it, but it's like what is best for you and what's the fastest you can get it done as far as like for the customer and just what they're looking to do. So again, it was like, do I do this or do I send it out or do I whatever? So if you can heat press it on, then why not heat press it on? And the other thing too is like more and more I'm finding that I don't have a shop to send it to sew a patch on. Like every embroidery shop I talk to is like, we don't do sew on patches. And I think it's a headache for them to do. So like, if I feel more comfortable now, I can heat press them on, then it's almost like a huge time saving and money saving because the people I do find that'll sew a patch on are like $5 a patch. And it's like, I would rather save that $5 and do them in house.
Yep.
So we got to kind of skip ahead a little bit because I don't think you guys want this to be like 5 hours long.
Good stuff though, guys.
I'm loving the conversation.
Two things I really want to talk about because we kind of dove into most of this stuff is, can you explain Fulfill Engine a little bit?
You mentioned a little bit earlier about that, those high volume, huge shops, right? The boom, 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 scan to print. You don't have to be a huge shop to do scan to print. So that's like the number one thing. Fulfill Engine is an all-in-one turnkey solution to automate your online stores for print on demand or even bulk orders, right? But it's also going to streamline your production process and make everything so seamless to be able to be profitable. When we talk about print on demand, so many bulk shops I talk to are so intimidated by, we can't make money on these minimal pieces, right? Because there's all of these touch points throughout the entire process. Fulfill Engine takes every single one of those and does the touch point for you, right? So you could stand up an online store easier than you can on Shopify, right? I love Shopify. I have a Shopify store myself, but standing up products on there takes time. And when you're talking about like building a store out for every single customer, you're not going to be doing that. You're not going to be paying for that. So turnkey white label stores, easy to set up, easy to price. You could even see if you want a profit share with your customers. Okay, they're going to make $10 on the shirt, right? You work for bands or musicians or artists. It's so easy to be able to see that. But when that shirt is ordered on that online store, whether you have it connected to Shopify or Order My Gear or their own white label store that's in the system, it automatically is going to add that to your cart on SNS or Sanmar or Alpha Broder or Lane 7 or AS Color or Carolina Made, wherever you're getting your apparel from. It's going to source that blank for you. And then however your production method is, whether it's direct to garment, laser engraving, sublimation in-house, right? If you're doing direct to film, embroidery, right? So all of that, when you set up the product, you're setting up a production recipe. So it is all completely streamlined when it comes to your shop says, hey, this is going to be a DTF transfer. If you're printing DTF in-house, cool. It queues up in your hot folder, ready to rip for the day. If you don't, that transfer is automatically showing up probably on the same day that the blank is from Sanmar, right? So everything comes to your shop. When you receive that garment, because the system ordered it, it knows what's in that PO. So you type in the PO and it goes, oh, this is all the shirts that are in here. So now it's really simplifying a receiving process. It prints out a QR code sticker for every single item. For bulk orders, it will print out one QR code for the bulk order. You essentially sticker the item, move it to your shop. When you scan it, you see the product mock-up, exactly how it was set up on screen. It tells you what locations the garment is being printed on, what decoration, even if it's mixed. We have embroidery on the sleeve and a DTF print on the front or direct to garment on the front. Cool. You just move it to the next station. And then you go to your shipping station, scan the QR code again. It's going to either produce a shipping label going to the end customer, or if there's multiple items on the order, it says, hey, it manages an entire intelligent bin system. So it goes, hey, we're still waiting on another item for this order. Go ahead and put this in bin B50. And you go put it in there. And then once that other item comes, when you scan that at the shipping station, it says, hey, go grab bin B50, you marry them together, and then that shipping label is printed. You slap it on there. So there are only production processes. And so I kind of saw this birth of print on demand at the last shop that I worked at, right? And saw this scan to print system come about that wasn't nearly as full featured as Fulfill Engine and wasn't turnkey, right? It was built by developers over the span of 2 years at the cost of however much that is in labor, plus the additional dev time, plus the additional staffing, and had warehouse garments to even be a fraction of what this was. And that was built for 2 decoration methods, essentially just direct to garment and embroidery. So Fulfill Engine essentially gives you that capability turnkey. But there's more, because say you're at capacity, hey, I don't have an embroidery machine, or my embroidery department is so backed up, you could literally click one checkbox. And because when you stand the product up, you're standing up this production recipe, this blueprint. It can go to any other decorator on this Fulfill Engine network, right? There's 10 coast to coast that are trusted quality. Everybody hates finding an outsourced vendor. So Fulfill Engine has done the work. So you say, oh, I want a laser engraved cup. I want UV DTF on a notebook, whatever it might be, but I don't want to invest in that technology. You don't have to do anything. You stand up the product for your customer, somebody buys it, it sources through the entire network and drop ships directly to your customer without you even knowing, right? And you can mix that with your own internal production methods too. Or say you want to go on vacation for smaller shops that are like, yeah, we're running direct to garment, direct to film, embroidery, all this stuff that we do in-house, but we want to go on vacation and not have orders pile up. One checkbox, and now it's outsourcing to a trusted decorator network that knows the same recipe, they know the blueprint of production, and they're using the same materials. So when we talk about like not all DTF is created equal, in Fulfill Engine it is, right? There is no other standard of this is poor quality. For embroidery, when you set up a product for embroidery, you're giving it the DST file. You're assigning thread colors. So regardless if you're sewing it in-house, you don't have to think about it, right? There's no loading it up. It'll even know to send it to a facility too in the network where it says, oh, we know that this facility has those threads preloaded on an embroidery machine. So it seamlessly streamlines every aspect of the production, and it truly brings everything together that a decorator needs to do print on demand. Or I know smaller decorators that struggle with pricing, right? It could standardize a price list for you. And then as you're quoting a project out, you're actually building the production blueprint. And you save that, you could email it to a customer. And then as soon as they say, yes, approved quote, now you don't have to go to Sanmar and go, okay, I need 1 large 3600 in black. I need 6 large, extra large 3600s in black. No, because you've already built that blueprint of the materials needed. Now it automatically orders it for you. So it really is this like incredibly powerful solution for both bulk orders and on-demand orders, so that anybody, whether you're a distributor, whether you are a screen printer, whether you are a business, a promo business running out of an office in an office park, you have the capabilities to be a full-scale printing powerhouse with decoration on demand.
What were we talking about earlier, Tyler? Skynet?
I'm actually like, I have questions because I forgot the
Umbrella
first
Academy.
Part. Like, yeah. I guess I'm kind of confused as to like what it is for me, right? Is it a shop scheduling software?
You can do anything. You can either say you make an online store, you can make it, or somebody else can make it for you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And if you are making it, it's just giving you all the material. It's like is it Freshly or something, where you buy like the online dinners and all the ingredients come with the ingredients recipe.
Show up.
Yes.
Is it primarily for online stores, or is this meant to be like a shop software solution?
It's made for on demand, but it also is the shop floor solution because, there's no paperwork orders now.
The production is amazing.
Online. Yeah.
I want to dumb this down real quick because that was like a long thing, which was super informative. You did amazing.
It's great. Like, it's a lot of good
for us dum-dums. like you said, basically I could be like, hey, I want to start an online store. I know the pain of it where when it gets done, I'm like, shit, I got to order the shirts for this. And they want these in 5 days. I got to do this thing. I got to do this thing. This thing is basically saying, hey, these were the shirts that were ordered. Order them. They're automatically putting it in SNS or wherever you tell it to go. Correct?
Yep.
Okay. So that part's done. The shirts are ordered.
That's nice.
And it's got what I want. And then it's already kind of given me all the materials and everything I need to decorate it because we already told it this is how we want these decorated, correct?
And you gave
those
it a
materials
file when you
those materials are going to show up at my door about roughly the same time you said the shirts are going to show up at my door. Okay. I could be like, cool, I got the shirts, I got the materials, I got the instructions, I can press these in house. Done. Cool. I'm glad I used the service. And then the other option is I want to do this online store, but I don't want to dick around with it at all. I'm just going to go to one of these networks of people and it's going to be done for me. They're going to ship it directly to the customer. I never have to touch it. I make my product. I make my profit and the customer makes their profit. Cool.
The average SLA is like 5 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
3 to 5 days maximum.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So my question real quick
coast to
on that
coast,
is what's obviously it's more profit for me if I'm printing them, correct? Like, and then what does it look like roughly? I know you're not going to have an exact answer, but like if I'm doing a t-shirt through here for an online store for whatever, what's the cost to me? Like what is the cost if I need to get that shirt done and fulfilled? Am I making $2? Am I making $5? Am I making $10 on like a $25 t-shirt that got sold to a school?
On average, it's about a 55% margin for you on anything going through the network. So there's flat rate decoration pricing, right? So let's just say, for example, you're going to DTG a shirt, $650 flat rate on the shirt, right? And that's starting. There's different tiers depending on what plan you're on. And so you have that pricing all given to you right up front. So when you stand up that product, and you say, I want this to be outsourced, it's going to tell you how much it costs. So you could add your 20% on it. You could mark up the blank garment if you wanted to. You could mark up the decoration if you wanted to. And that's those price lists that you have the control over. The control is all in your hands. So when you go to your customer, instead of saying, oh, well, this is going to cost whatever, $13 plus the blank, plus the decoration, everything, you could say, no, I want this to price. I want to show them $15.80. But what are they going to sell that on in an online store? They're going to be like, oh, it's $25 or $30. So they're going to make their margin on it. You're going to make your margin on it. And everybody's going to win with
Fundraisers
with having
is another thing that you can do, and you can cut the fundraiser, whoever the chair is, a check weekly. Hey, this is how much you made. And you can set logins for them as well to view it.
Or set up their own products too. Cool. So you don't even have to set up products for them.
What is the cost to set up the store? You kind of talk about this. Okay. So again, that goes
cost.
back to me right now of like, okay, I pay Shopify, whatever it is, like, $40 or something a month for the one store, or $35 or something. And then I have to pay someone here to set the whole thing up, which I would still have to pay someone to kind of set it up.
Yeah. Someone's still got to run it.
You're saying it's still like, it's pretty user friendly. And then
100%.
again, at the end of that, I have to make a report in Shopify. I have to order the blanks. I have to put it on the schedule. We have to make the screens, or we have to order the transfers, or whatever we're doing. And then we have to print it. And I have to be the one to put all the notes to say, this is how this is going to get decorated. I can avoid 80% of that by going to this fulfill engine and putting the stuff in and being like, cool, it's done and printed and sent to the customer. And I never had to touch anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or if you do want to touch it and keep those profits in house, it reduces all of that. I mean, everybody's favorite thing to do every day is sit in and go order an entire day of shirts from Sandbar or SNS, right? Like, and then you find, they bought this large black 3600. Terrible example because it's never out of stock, but it's out of stock now. Now I need a substitute. Well, because it's connected with all of your supplier inventory, it will know, oh, hey, that's out of stock, and it turns it off. It says out of stock when you go to buy it online. So you're never selling anything back ordered ever again. Yeah. You're never having to find replacements for orders. And it's connected to all of your suppliers. So if it's out of stock at SNS, cool, goes to Sanmar. If that's your, whichever preferred, you set your order for who you want to be priority. You could have it set to lowest price because, hey, that 3600 goes on sale on Sanmar all the time. And I want to pay the lowest price, right? So it's your account, Dylan. Yeah, it's your account. So it's your pricing.
Right. That makes sense.
That's awesome. Well,
Very
damn.
cool. It's a lot. But that's super powerful.
Yeah. No, I know.
Yeah.
Frank,
yeah.
you want to talk about your hat?
Yeah. So speaking of Fulfill Engine, there's all types of decoration that can be done Fulfill Engine. One of the newest types of decoration is what is on my cap here. I have it on this. This is called Liquid 3D. It is a product that will only be fulfilled through Stahls Fulfill Engine decorators. But on the product generator page of Fulfill Engine, you set up your artwork, you choose the size, you can choose the level of height, you can put a gradient in there and dictate a percentage of gradation. You can have varying heights, you can change the bevel.
So you pretty much make it whatever you want, is what you're saying.
Yes.
It's
That's
dimensional
cool.
decorating.
Lots of dimension. Yeah.
On demand.
Oh, here's a
with
pretty
one minimum quantity.
pretty
That's
butterfly.
It. Yep.
Yeah.
So full color.
3D printing, or how is it being accomplished, or
It
are you
is
allowed to say?
patent pending. Patent pending. But essentially, it is full color capability. So even more than PVC. You get higher dimension than PVC, but all of the same benefits, the same looks, the textures. You could color the edges of it, right? One example that we had that I saw was camo pattern all the way through. So the thing was, over 1/8 of an inch thick, probably almost 1/4 of an inch thick.
And it wasn't just printed on top; it was all the way through.
No, it's color all the way through.
So you can't wear it out.
Cool.
It has a clear. I don't know if you can see it on.
Yeah, I can see it.
So it's not going to come off the top because you're all the way down. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, and
color reel for 3D printing.
Exactly. Yep.
There you go.
So again,
very cool.
I keep saying, like, I wanted to have you guys on. I wanted to talk about this stuff. I think everything you guys are doing is rad, and that's the point. That's the reason why we wanted to partner up with you guys. But it's just one of those things that goes back to, why are you fucking around and going somewhere else? Like, I'm not trying to be the sales guy for you, but it's like they offer all of this shit. Like,
dude, I had
the technology and the thinking of all the new things. It's like, I don't want this to be an ad, but like, it's kind of dumb to go to some random thing on the internet and be like, I trust this for my customers.
I mean, Dylan, I had a buddy who bought his way into the industry. He bought a small shop over in Bentonville, Arkansas. And he called me. He's like, can you come look at all this equipment? Can you come see what I got? He had no idea what he had bought. He just knew he wanted to get in. I get over there. There's a couple Stahls heat presses. There's a DTF machine, or like, I can't remember the brand. There's a DTG machine. There's a whole screen print setup. And I was like, do you want to learn any of this? And he goes, no. And I go, sell it all, set up a Stahls.com account. You're good. And that is literally what he did, because it was just an easy solution to toss him to. Because otherwise I was going to get a million calls from this guy. So how do you burn a screen? So how do you this? Like, I want to help my friends. I want more people to get in the industry. Absolutely. But literally my solution for him was like, sell all this crap you don't need. And I just I text him your website and it just said, set up an account here. It's easy, man. They make it easy.
We have so many people with businesses, and it frustrates me. I was a screen printer and embroiderer myself. I was a UPS driver and bought a company off my route, Tyler, and I was just thrown into it. And I just thought, you had to do this. This is what you have to do. You have to learn. And then you got the flip side of you guys that start in bands, and you're like, cool, let's print some shirts, right?
Yeah, that's where we went. That's where we started.
That's where I started.
But I wish so many
it's a lot of us
would do their due diligence and say, okay, what do I want to do? Do I want to sell? That's where I'm good at it. That's where my passion is. Or do I want to be in the back of the house and produce? So I try to tell people, go where what you're passionate about. If you're passionate about selling, if you just want to be an entrepreneur and run a business, that's great. Farm the stuff out. If you want to be a production house and you're passionate about that, do that.
But the problem is, Frank, is that you're talking like a parent. Like, I'm going through the same thing too, of like, my kids are teenagers and I tell them shit that I'm like, I know the answer. Like, I know what you should be doing. And they're like, okay, cool. And then they just do whatever the hell they want to do, because they need to experience it to know that you are right.
Yeah.
That's that thing. Like, I had a discussion with my dad the other day of like how I was as a kid. And he's like, when you hit like 30 years old, you're like, you know what? Dad was right. I should have done it this way. And it's like, they never agreed Dad was right at 16. They're like, Dad, you have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah. So again, like, you saying that is when us punk kids that wanted to start a screen printing shop weren't like, you know what, I should think about the ROI of this, and I should think about like what to do here. We're like, nah, dude, I bought this on Craigslist, and let's fucking jam all night long. Let's print these shirts. Like that's what happens. And then we find out later, like, that sucks. I don't want to do that anymore.
It's falling off. It's a lot of work. It hurts.
But again, like that's the point of like stuff with like Shirt Show and stuff, is it's like, me and Tyler are telling you as shop owners from experience of like, we did this banging our head off the wall for this period of time. Like, this is the solution that we found that we're using in our shop today to alleviate all these other issues. Because again, I've bought the eBay heat press. I've bought the fly by night, whatever place, DTF or whatever. And it's like, okay, well now I find one that actually works, that I feel reliable and I feel that I can give to a customer and feel good about. I want to tell the community, hey, this is something I believe in. So again, like that is just, it just is what it is. To finish this off, I got two things. One, I wanted to ask Dave, just because you're the tech nerd, do you have any shop hacks for people that are doing heat printing that you found would save them a lot of headaches and banging their head off the wall, other than the grip tape?
Spitfire grip tape is number one so far. Yeah.
Are you talking in terms of efficiency, or are you talking?
It can be anything. Like, again, like I think in my head, the first thing that comes to mind is like, so many people are still heat pressing hats where they have like heat press marks on the hat or like scorch marks on the edges. Do you have like a
burning the
solution
ropes
for that?
Left chest application, Dave, because you taught me last week, quick way.
Left chest application, but I mean, that goes even far beyond heat printing. I love bins, especially moving jobs through a shop, keeping things clean and put together. It's kind of that thing like, even if you're not running a full assembly line, everything is in that like assembly line process. So when it gets to press, you're just pressing. And you guys probably do it screen printing too, right? Like the cart comes to the press with the inks mixed with the squeegees ready to go, the flood bars, and you have your apparel. You have everything ready set. So when you're at press, you're maximizing your time actually printing, right? With a carousel press, if the press ain't spinning, you ain't winning, right? And if your press isn't closed as a heat press, like you're not making money.
How have I never heard that before?
That's a great one. I'm gonna write.
That's like such a cheesy fucking car salesman thing, but it's so good.
I hear a shirt in the works.
If it ain't spinning, you ain't winning.
Oh man,
right. I'm gonna put that on a banner.
The next shirt show summer camp, right?
Man, I will say I have to. I think I heard that one for the first time at one of the old shops that I worked at. Jacob Edwards would say it. He also, when we talk about the difference of, we call them the Jacobisms, but it was, the customer doesn't care how the sausage is made, right? Because at the advent of DTG, right? When it was, this is the screen print killer. Spoiler alert, screen printing's still around.
Still around,
right? Didn't kill it, but he was like, when we're talking about producing these things, the customer doesn't care how the sausage is made, right? They just want the sausage. And then, just the span of, we're really just covering the front of people's bodies, right? Yeah. Like, he used a different word for it.
With sausage.
But yeah, just we're just covering nipples.
I mean,
right?
that's what he would say. Shirt show. We like hot dogs. Like, I don't want to know how it's made, because then I won't eat it.
Right.
Nope.
And like,
hot dogs.
And like you said, I mean, that was also a clientele of bands and musicians and artists, right? That was the main niches. And a lot of them, honestly, if they did specify, like, oh, no, we don't want any of that directed garment stuff. We want screen printing. It's like, okay, cool. But the vast majority of customers out there, even in those spaces, go, hey, as long as it looks good, feels good, and lasts. Like,
I need the thing I want on the shirt I want it on. That's it.
I want it to taste like a hot dog. I want to put ketchup on it. I want to put it on a bun.
Whoa.
And I want to eat
get the
it.
fuck out
Whoa.
of here.
Mustard.
Slow down.
Dave, sorry. You lost the credit. It's gone.
Well, your pitch was good. Great till then. So Stahls, we're looking for a new company.
Back to the bins. Were you saying to put them in bins at the press?
Oh, yeah. Put us back on the rails. Thanks, Frank.
There you go.
But yeah, bins, carts. Some shops don't have room for carts, but like any way that you could reduce the touch point on any item is going to save you money, whether it's a bulk order or whether it's a small order. Whenever I decorate larger orders, it's a cart right here on one side I touch it, it goes on press, it comes off onto another cart or a microphone stand, like we hit here. So like that press is closed and making money, right?
Yep.
Time, temperature, pressure. Not all heat transfers are created equal. Keep them. Keep the instructions handy. I love some of those heat presses that you have the actual programmable presets. Hey, I'm moving from a screen printed transfer to DTF, or I'm moving over to an applique heat applied product, right? Whatever you're doing, you just hit a button and it's going to it.
Y'all's IQ presses are great for that.
Yes. Don't just keep it at 300 degrees for 15 seconds, right? Like you're going to ruin some shirts that way. Heat sensitivity and scorching becomes a huge issue for a lot of people. I use the ARCH method, right? ARCH. So A is accurate pressure. Accurate pressure. Pressure is the number one reason that anything on a heat press fails. If you don't have a heat press that has a accurate pressure readout, there's a lot of them that have little digital readouts. There's also some that I'm not going to mention names of any other presses, but they're imported from China. And they say that their pneumatic pressure reading is a certain thing. And you're like, okay, cool. Let me set it to that. It's not. It's wrong. And so you're under applying products. And pressure is that one thing, kind of like we talked about, that is the hidden culprit of all heat transfer application. That's why the Cricket Mom with her iron has the numbers flapping in the breeze on the little league jerseys, right?
You can only press down so hard with your hands.
You could only press down so hard with your hands. For any decorating, you need those consistent, predictable, and repeatable results. And so when you have accurate pressure, that's the thing to do it. So we see on a lot of like polyester or the recycled polyester garments these days, people jamming way too much pressure on it. And it's like, the garment might not be more heat sensitive, but it's like a cast iron skillet. If you go pick up like a stainless steel pan, cool, it's hot, right? Ooh, it's hot, but I could pick it up. You pick up that cast iron skillet, it's hot, right? But because of the weight of the pan, it stings the hand a little bit more, right? So you are just thermodynamics. I print t-shirts. I'm not a mathematician or a physicist or know any of that stuff. I barely passed chemistry in college, right? I went to art school, right? So I know that the harder you push down, the more heat is transferred, right? But you're going to damage the fibers of the shirt, right? And if you ever warmed up a plastic bottle, like a plastic water bottle, it warps, right? Like it twists, the plastic itself twists, which is exactly what those plastic fibers in the t-shirt, the polyester, is doing, right? So you're damaging it. It twists and flowers and deforms and everything, right? So accurate pressure is number one to reducing any platen marks, but you have to still have that accurate application. If something says I need a medium to firm pressure, it needs that medium to firm pressure, maybe not the best for that super heat sensitive sport tech garment. Love you sport tech, but there's some sport techs that if you just look at them,
well, then it goes down to getting the right product too.
Correct.
Not everything deserves the high pressure, high heat.
Yep.
We're getting there. We're getting there. Arch method, A, accurate pressure. 2 is a reduced heat transfer. Absolutely. So find a transfer that's going to apply at a lower temperature to make it less long-winded. C is correct cover sheet. We talked about using those grip tapes. Yeah, they're great. They're fantastic, right? But you could block too much heat with a cover sheet. That gray flexible silicone pad, the flexible application pad, right?
Double your time.
It's awesome. Double the time, or you have to up the heat. That thing is blocking 30 to 40 degrees, depending on the pressure. It's blocking 30 to 40 degrees of temperature reaching your transfer. So when you talk about those adhesives that bond to the fibers so hard that like you need pliers to peel it off, and then you rip the shirt or rip the fabric, right? You're blocking that. So you're never going to get that. It's just going down the dryer, right? You reach into that little mini dryer and pull the shirt out of it when you're screen printing. Is that plastisol ink going to be fully cured on that? Nah. Right? So like it's the same thing. Accurate pressure, correct cover sheet, reduced heat transfer, and the last one then, heated lower platen. So this is like the final ace up the sleeves for so many people using a heat press. You could get heated lower platens that essentially, just like we talked about the 360 IQ cap press that heats from the bottom and it allows you to do that dimensional decoration, but say on that 100% performance wear, the polyesters, if you scorch the inside, is anybody ever going to notice? Right? They're not. So you're able to get that proper application with a heated lower platen, where then you're protecting the outside finish of the garment. And like when you talk about even, using a post press with like a t-shirt, T-shirts actually have two textures. You have your outer weave and the inner weave, right? So it's a much wider or finer on one side. So just heat applying through the bottom of that, you protect the finish of the weave of the outside of the garment. Remember arch. That's all you got to do for those heat sensitive applications. Reduce those chances of ruining garments. I will say too, one thing that scares a lot of people who are just getting into heat transfer application, and I've seen this with screen printing too, when your squeegee pressure is too high and your squeegee's wider than the pallet, the platen that you're printing on, right? You see the marks. I call it the crop circle because it's like when you walk around with a crop circle and you bend the corn down, right? That's what you're doing to the fibers of a shirt. So like a 100% cotton shirt, and you might see a kind of a sheen or a press box on the shirt, or on maroons or heavily dyed, you'll see it actually change color. But it's the moisture leaving from the shirt, right? Which also reminds me, pre-press every single time. You talked about it too, right? The moisture coming from the shirt. There are companies out there that sell you DTF transfers that are like, the pre-press is made up. It doesn't matter. Stahls has been in business for 90 years. The pre-press matters, right? We didn't just hit the scene two years ago, saying, whatever, just buy our transfers. It's fine. No. Pre-press your garment. What happens when you, again, not a physicist, what happens when you apply heat to moisture? It turns into steam, right? Where does steam go in terms of physics? It goes up. So you have steam fighting up as you're trying to push ink, and in some cases, water-based ink, down. Is it going to bond to the fibers of the shirt? Probably not, right? It might stick, but it's going to start cracking, or it's going to start peeling.
It won't last as many washes.
Exactly. So for those most durable results, absolutely pre-press a shirt. I really envy those people out in like Arizona and Las Vegas with dry climates, like
just dry shirts, man.
Dry shirts all day. It's great. But if you put your heat press to your shirt and you see steam coming off your press in any way, you absolutely need to do it, right? And that's something that like I figured out with like the puff screen print transfers, right? And in many cases, you'll see this with like screen printed puff additive inks too. If there's too much moisture in the shirts, the moisture actually fights its way through the puff and creates like it looks like when your fingers are in the bathtub for too long, right? And gets wrinkly. You'll see the puff inks get wrinkly, and that's because there's too much moisture in the shirt. So we just started smashing the heat press on it for 25, 15 seconds, right? And it completely eliminated the issue. Again, with certain puff additives, you need to ensure that like you have that moisture out of the shirt. So I don't know. That was there's a lot of the tips. But if you had to pick just one, I'd probably say pre-press. And if you're already pre-pressing, then get some bins and carts.
Well, what you should have said is I queued you up here is to fucking go to the Stahls YouTube page and just watch all of your videos.
Yeah. So much good education.
Come on, that's what you should have said.
What you should do is learn it all.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go to the quick takes, and then you guys can go home to your families. What shirt has your shop printed that you are most proud of? So is there a transfer or a material or something that you guys have created that you guys are the most stoked on?
I think it's the Ultra Color Max that you did, Dave, on the back of the shirts for Print Hustlers. Are you wearing it?
I'm wearing it right now. But
all right.
I can't turn around. I have headphones.
I just, DTF sometimes just gets such a bad connotation when it comes to soft hand. If the artwork's done right, I think the opacity of white is probably a little more vibrant than a screen print when it's done right. And so the one Dave's pulling off, he did that art himself, right? Am I correct?
This came from our European partners, but I half-toned it.
Okay. There you go.
Nice.
But he let the shirt.
See how much shirt's coming through?
Yes.
Yep.
Exactly.
So that's I have the t-shirt and I have the is that a hoodless hoodie? Pocket overshirt and
black, so you can't see anything.
It's one of my favorites to wear right now. I think the shirt we had on there was that San Mars garment dye for the t-shirt.
Yeah, the PC099 beach wash ones.
Yeah.
Nice.
Dave has all the fucking technical info like locked in his brain.
So good. Just
What happens when you're a nerd.
He's like, I'm not a physicist, but I have a brain that I have to drag on the floor because there's so much shit in there.
Dave's a nerd, and we love it.
All right, next question. If you could snap your fingers and change one thing about the industry, what would it be?
I get rid of the bad quality out there. Bad quality supplies, materials. I think there's too many misleading things from even when I was learning how to screen print, right? And YouTube wasn't what it was back in the day, right? I learned how to screen print from watching a rip from a Ryan Moore VHS or something, right? Like that was all that was out there for a video on how to screen print. But I see so much bad information out there, and just poor quality advice, that it's getting harder and harder to really find out what the truth is and what's going to help. Love the shows, and I love the community so much. Being in the music industry too, like, I don't know, this is kind of a weird tangent, but the apparel decorating community, if you just go talk to somebody like what you guys are doing. And I mean, like if somebody's like, hey, could I come swing by your shop? I'd love to see how we invite them in with open arms, right?
Oh yeah.
Where like in the global economy that we live in, we are all technically in competition with each other, right? Even if we have different niches, we all could service the same customer, and we could all put ink on a t-shirt, right? In some way, shape, or form. I was in the music industry for a long time, and even in local communities, people be like, I hate that band, they got that gig, or like, oh man, they're so good, I hate them. Like, the willingness to be able to help out. And like, you see people who have been doing this for 35 years. You see people who've even just been doing this for 5 years that will gladly reach behind them and lift each other up. So like, there is so much good in the industry. And we see these people coming into the industry now that are just trying to make a buck or mislead people. And you most of the time see them on like Instagram, and it's like, this is the way that you do this. And then you go read a forum or another group where somebody's like, I feel so misled. I've wasted so much money. And now like my business, my dream has literally bankrupted me because somebody sold me snake oil. And it's like, there are good people out there. And I hate to like, I mean, I love decorating. I love the art of screen printing still, right? Like it's so near and dear to me that like I try my absolute hardest, that like I'm not publishing a video unless I wash test it, right? I'm not going to mislead anybody because I've been misled in my lifetime of being in the apparel decorating industry.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say about the show is like, I don't want this to sound like a Stahls ad, but the truth of it is like, just, I want people to know that this stuff exists. Like that's my goal. Like with all of this, anything, any shop we talk to, whatever, is I want to say as true to my knowledge as possible of like, I think this is what you should go with because it's been around for 90 years or something.
It's worked for me, right? It's worked for you.
It's personal experience.
Like Tyler, again, the whole reason why I had him on is because it's like he's used more Stahls products than I have. So it's like, I want real people talking about this, not just like a, he said, she said thing.
Mm-hmm. And I don't want to smash every vendor out there. There's been other vendors I've tried. But it's the misinformation, I think, that's out there.
I agree.
That is, it hurts me as a, just as a creative, right?
Yep. And again, I'll test other people. I'll test all different things. I'll use different products from different places. It's just, what do I feel comfortable with and what do I feel that I can share with the community is a good solution to get them from A to B and to get them to have another customer in the door. So yeah. All right. Last question for everybody. If you were unkillable for a day, what would you do?
Unkillable or unable to die?
Unable to feel pain?
That's the same thing.
No.
All right. I mean, pain and you can't die. You're invincible. You're Superman for a day.
I would go jump off the highest thing you could jump off of and land on the ground. That would be, just want to go jump off a building.
Would you do like a superhero landing where you like land on your knee?
You land one knee down, one hand down, the ground cracks out next. For sure.
What about like doing the Grand Theft Auto thing and going to get like a jet? sneak onto a military base.
Yeah,
jet.
get onto a jet and just like figure out, like, get on YouTube. Get on YouTube. We've learned you can do anything on YouTube today.
Yeah.
Like, get on there and be like, all right, how do I start up this jet and then take it off? And if you can't land it right, you're fine. I mean,
You're not
Can I
going to
breathe
die,
underwater? I mean, I can't
now
die,
Frank
right?
you can't die.
Yeah.
You
See,
can't die.
Frank
Mariana's Trench,
went
I
for
could
my. You went for
just
my
go.
heart. Put a
Just
headlamp on and just
go.
swim everywhere and be like, I'm going to find aliens.
Explore.
Yeah,
Atlantis,
I can't die now.
aliens.
Could you swim to the
sharks.
bottom of the ocean in a day?
Yeah.
I would hope so.
I don't think we know, do we?
Yeah, but I could just put a shitload of weights on and just sink myself to the bottom.
You can't
And
die.
then I could cut them and just float back up. Can't die.
I'd be for the adventure. Whether adventuring in the sky, you adventure in the ocean.
You got 24 hours.
Yeah.
Man. Do whatever you want to do.
Go high, go low. Just go for it, man.
Call Elon and get on the moon.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for doing this with me. Again, we could have
it's
talked
so
about so
fun.
many things. I had so many notes that we didn't even get to, but we kind of touched on everything. I do hope that people that listen to this episode can kind of dive more into this. And the nice thing is it's not like this is over. Like you said, Dave, they can go to Stahls' YouTube channel and they can watch all the educational content that we didn't cover. I just wanted to have you guys on to kind of showcase like what it is you guys offer, what it is you guys are innovating, because you're not just a one-stop shop for this thing. You're kind of always looking out for new stuff. And that's what I like to say when I do the partner read in the beginning of all these episodes, is that you guys are really into educating the industry. And if somebody is going that hard into the education, then they kind of should know what the hell they're talking about to a degree.
Yeah.
So, again, thank you, Frank, so much for setting this up. Thank you, Dave, for getting on here and nerding out and having a big brain. I really
Anytime.
want to talk to you more because there was stuff that me and you had in common that we really wanted to talk about. So maybe we'll do a part 2 down the road when you guys have some more technology and stuff. But I appreciate you very much. Tyler, thank you fucking for just existing. You're
Dude,
one of my favorite
I love
people.
you, buddy.
Have a good day, guys. I'll see you later.
Yep. Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
guys.